Hello and good morning, everyone. My name is Lauren, and I am the children's librarian at the Studio City Library of the Los Angeles Public Library.
And I'm Tina, and I am a librarian at our beautiful downtown Central Library. Good to see everybody today.
Oh, hello. I'm Joanna. I also work at the Central Library, and I'm the Senior Librarian of Children's Services.
And thank you so much for joining us for the Los Angeles Public Library's Will Eisner Week celebration, Dream, Write, Draw, Connecting Children with Graphic Novels. Through this program, children and the adults in their lives will experience the graphic novel as a literary form that inspires literacy, community, and free expression, which is what American cartoonist Will Eisner stood for. A big thank you to the Library Foundation of Los Angeles, the Lenore S. and Bernard A. Greenberg Funds, and other generous donors for funding this event.
Yes, thank you. Will Eisner Week is held every March and celebrates comics and the legacy of Will Eisner. William Eisner was an American cartoonist, writer, and entrepreneur, and he was one of the earliest cartoonists to work in the American comic book industry. And his series, The Spirit, was noted for its experiments in content and form. And the Eisner Award was named in his honor and given to recognize achievements each year in the comics medium at Comic-Con in San Diego.
Everyone, the next few hours is going to be so much fun. Today, we're going to be joined by a group of talented and innovative authors and illustrators who will present live drawing demonstrations, ideas to inspire you to develop your own creative project, and much more every half hour until 2 p.m. today. Told you, it's jam-packed with lots of fun. And there's ways that you can learn more about the books and our creators and Will Eisner Week at lapl.org, Will-Eisner on the library's website. So let's go ahead and put that banner up, and it's also on the chat as well. But this is what you want to look for, WillEisner.com. And then if you want to learn more about the creators who'll be sharing all their works and interacting with you today, that's where you go for on the library's website. So we all have more fun things in store as well when you connect with the creators. We have book giveaways. It's going to be super excited. I'm going to go over how you do this. And don't worry, I'll be repeating this very often after each creator does their presentation. So to get a free book, what you're going to do is email ecdepartment@lapl.org. That's in the banners. We'll also put a link in the chat periodically throughout the morning. And when you email them, you receive a code for the book that you want. So the first 10 or 9 or 15 emails that we receive, depending on how many copies we have, we'll get a code to have the book mailed to you. So supplies are limited though, so you have to be a little speedy with your emailing and your typing. What you would do is when you send an email, you put in the subject heading, Will Eisner, and the title of the book. And again, don't worry, I will repeat these instructions very often so that you can make sure to get the book that you want. Please, though, don't worry if you don't get an opportunity to receive the book. You can still borrow a copy from the book from the library. We have our library to go locations, and we have a wonderful way of reading the book as an electronic resource or digital copy, and that is Overdrive, LAPL, Overdrive library/kids.com. There's also another one that we use. One of the books is available on our e-resource, and that's called Hoopla, hoopladigital.com. I know one of our books is, but there are a ton of comics. That's how actually I've been reading my graphic novels, is Hoopla. It's been so easy to be able to do that.
You don't need to place a hold. You just download it, and it's yours to start reading immediately.
That is my favorite. Because I have no patience.
Mine too. I love it. Like for me, I just hear about a title, and then if it's on Hoopla, I get it right away, and I just devour. I've read whole volumes of graphic novels thanks to Hoopla. What about you, Tina and Lauren?
I read a ton of stuff on Hoopla. It's also got music, so sometimes I'll listen to something on Hoopla while reading something that I've gotten from Overdrive. And one of the things I love about Overdrive, switching back and forth between all these services, but Overdrive has manga, which you could just, click through volume after volume. Hopefully you've been able to, check them out and they're not on hold, but it's so great. So I love both those services. I'll listen to Hoopla for music. Freegal is another music streaming service we have. It's crazy.
You know what I also forgot to mention? Something else that you can use that EC department email for. There's going to be a lot of ways that our illustrators and authors and creators are going to be leading you towards those live drawing demonstrations. I would love to see what our viewers create, whether they're in the classroom or at home. There's just going to be so much inspiration, and I would love, please, anyone who creates something because of this program, or even later they were inspired by our artists, take a picture of it and share it with us, and that's the way to do it. Email ecdept@lapl.org. I can't wait to see these creations.
So right now we were supposed to have our first creator at 11 a.m. today, which was Lucy Knisley of Stepping Stones. Ooh. But she has had a family emergency and can't make it with us today. But what we can do right now is let you know the schedule for the rest of the day. I'm going to put up the books, tell you a little bit about each book and the time of these creators. And if you're interested in tuning in for certain books, getting the chance to win a certain book, or hearing from that creator and learning even more about that book, I'll let you know the time. And then you can tune in whatever time you want to enjoy that creator, those teams, and those books. So at 11:30 today, we have Varian Johnson and Shannon Wright of the book Twins. So if you are interested in tuning in and seeing Varian Johnson and Shannon Wright of Twins, please join us at 11:30 today. They will be here 11:30 a.m. Pacific, just in a few minutes actually now. And you can enjoy Twins. I loved this book. Maureen and Francine, or Fran, as she likes to be called now that she's in 6th grade, make a great team. I really related to Maureen because I was a little quiet and shy in school. And did you ever have that moment where you had to make a speech in front of your class and you didn't want to do it and you felt super nervous? That's Maureen. Fran is like, I want to talk to everybody. I can get up and say anything. And so they have differences, but they're still best friends. And hopefully they stay still best friends throughout the book. Find out. Read Twins. So that'll be at 11:30. Varian Johnson and Shannon Wright. At 12 noon sharp, Urban Legends. This is by Paul Downs and Michael Yates. It takes place in Brooklyn, New York. And Michael Yates actually works at the Pixar Animation Studios. And Paul Downs was his teacher, which is my favorite fact about them. Paul Downs, the author, was Michael Yates' teacher in animation school. Ringling College of Art and Design is actually the #1 animation school in the world. And Paul teaches there, and Michael Yates was his student, and now Michael Yates works at Pixar Animation Studios. I highly recommend tuning in for their noon program session because they're both wonderful people and a lot of fun. And Urban Legends is such a great book. And like Joanna had mentioned, Hoopla Digital, their book is also available. That's the one book that's available on Hoopla Digital. So you can actually take the time right now to check it out with your library card, explore Hoopla Digital.
I'm going to do that right now.
And start checking out reading this book while maybe you're waiting for noon to see them. Oh my goodness, it's jam-packed. Tina, do you remember who's the person that's going to be joining us at 12:30?
12:30 is, where's my schedule? 12:30 is Chris Grine, who has Secrets of Camp Whatever. And Chris is going to be joined by his editor, Shauna Gore. And they're going to talk about Secrets of Camp Whatever, and they'll be discussing Chris's creative process and editing process, how to edit a book. And then everybody will need to get their pencils and papers ready for a drawing demonstration from Chris, which I'm really looking forward to.
And what I love about Chris Grine's books, there's going to be a giveaway for this book, Secrets of Camp Whatever, and a big thank you to Oni Press. Oni Press is such a very kind publishing company. They donated 9 copies for the giveaway because this book doesn't come out till March 16th. So this is Chris Grine's most recent book that's coming out next week, but we already have copies to give away to you. And also he was an Eisner nominated creator. He also wrote Time Shifters, and we're giving away 10 copies of Time Shifters. And why I love Chris Grine's books so much is his characters are so wild. I don't know how he comes up with these ideas. You know, President Abraham Lincoln's a robot riding on a dinosaur. Why not? Secrets of Camp Whatever. Gnomes are everywhere and then coming alive. Why not? But somehow he's able to make it all make sense. So that's why I love his work, because it's so wild and you would think these characters would not work and this story is not going to work, but it always ends up working. So I love Chris Grine's.
Tina and Lauren, I wanted to do a supply check with you. Do you think this pad of paper is big enough for drawing along to his drawing demonstration later today?
Oh my gosh, so. Yes. I've got, I don't know if you want to borrow some of my Tombow markers. Here.
Those are so cool. Oh, actually.
Did you get them?
Oh, I got them. Thank you. Let me look. Tina, you have such great colors. I'm so excited to fill that up. So I have paper, I have pencils, and I have eraser for the drawing demonstrations that our creators are going to do. So I hope everyone this is actually a good time to supply yourself right now, right? With the books and
pencils, make sure they're sharpened.
My pencil sharpener ran out of batteries. I know. I'll put you on that.
But again, like Joanna and Tina just said, this would be a great time also to get up, stretch your legs, stretch your fingers for the drawing later. So you can go around wherever you are, grab some pencils, paper, whatever you use and love to use for creating, and get ready, because a lot of our creators today are going to have drawing demonstrations that you can draw along with them. Does the fun continue? We're up to 1 o'clock, right? What's happening at 1 p.m.?
Yeah, tell us.
The fun continues with Darnell Johnson, whose latest book is Power Up. And I am so excited because Darnell is going to, I'll hold this back here so you can't see that I'm reading. He's going to be presenting a drawing demonstration. And while Darnell draws, he's going to explain his process, character design, and great advice about drawing and life. So again, get your pencils and paper ready. And we're so excited to have Darnell. This is his latest book, Power Up. And we will see him at 1 p.m.
And Darnell Johnson is just such a wonderful person. This is actually his first graphic novel, and he has a debut picture book also that's coming out this year. So he is a very busy 2021. And what I love about Darnell Johnson's work is that he doesn't have just one style. He likes to experiment with all different styles. So in Power Up, there's actually 2 different styles going on in the book. There's being inside the video game, and that's a different style he uses. And then there's the real life of the 2 boys that don't even know they're playing the video game together when they're at home, going to school together in their school life. And that's a different style. And Darnell always likes to say, don't worry about just having one style. Just keep drawing every day if that's what you want to do, and your styles will come to you. So that's Power Up, and that again will be at 1 p.m. And then how are we ending?
Who's at 1:30? Joanna?
Ooh. 1:30 is the perfect time for lunchtime, but this makes it even better because now we have Space Battle Lunchtime. Wow, I'm so excited for this, everyone. We're going to be connecting with Natalie Riess, and she's going to be talking about her graphic novel series about an Earth baker who becomes a contestant on the universe's hottest TV reality show, Space Battle Lunchtime. So I'm actually excited for this. Is there also going to be maybe some food talk around this time too? What kind of
I'm also just holding up, this is their latest book, Dungeon Critters. And it's a lot of fun. So
awesome.
Have that up too.
Natalie is such a great artist. When she first created Space Battle Lunchtime, she did all the coloring, lettering, everything herself, and then shopped it around and didn't give up until Oni Press agreed to publish it. And she's been working ever since. So she always says, never give up. And if you can't find someone to help you, try to do it on your own. And she was able to succeed. But she did everything herself, all the coloring, all the lettering, everything.
Wow.
Space Battle Time.
That's amazing. Okay.
I'm so excited for her demo because I love drawing food and I love seeing graphic novels that feature food. I don't know why. It's just so fun to see how that comes to life, like a bowl of ramen or spaghetti.
Ooh.
Someone asked Natalie on Twitter to draw a pizza orb, and so she did. So that's her pizza orb. She's excellent at drawing textures, which is what she's going to be talking about today and demonstrating today, how to draw different textures, which I think is so interesting. So that's going to be a lot of fun, and that's how we're going to end this great, great day.
Very cool. Actually, I was going to bring this up. I don't know if you wanted to see, if anyone wanted to prepare themselves for what these artists and illustrators look like. I pulled up our Will Eisner Week website on that's a Will Eisner Week celebration on the library's website. And this is what we have going. So everything that Laurentine and I just talked about, you can find more information, the schedule, what our illustrators and creators look like, and a little bit more about their books and their history and what inspires them. And then way back at the top, more about Will Eisner Week. Oh, look at this! More to read. Everyone, can you tell us, Tina, can you tell us a little bit? Tina and Lauren, can you tell us about these books? These are amazing.
Well, I created 2 book lists, one that are all the kid-friendly award winners and nominees, and you can just click on those and put them on hold or download them. And then the next list is the books from the creators who are presenting today. So not just the books they're talking about, but other books like Dungeon Critters or Relish and other books that are on there. And also Will Eisner's books. His book, his comic book series, The Spirit, and there's a couple books too in the other list. It's in this list about him and just a little bit about how he came to be in the world of comics. So there you go. Click on any of those books, and it'll take you right to the link in our catalog.
Oh man, it is. It's super easy. Like if I wanted to check out The Spirit, there it is. I can just go ahead to One Overdrive or our catalog to put the book on hold. Oh, this is amazing.
For, like Urban Legends, if you click on Urban Legends right from there, you can get it immediately on Hoopla. It'll take you to that link.
So cool. Oh, and even more information about Will Eisner and our creators. Both of you have been busy. That's super exciting.
We asked them some questions ahead of time and just got a little extra get to know you kind of blog post. So if you're curious about any of our speakers today, you can read a little more about them, and it's fun. And it'll link also to their materials, to their books and what they have going on.
All right, speaking of Hoopla, since you were talking about it, I just wanted to show everyone how easy it is. I went to Hoopla on my device. I typed in Urban Legends, Legends with the Z, and it came up, and now I'm going to borrow it. Ready? So excited. Here it's happening. Borrow title. And now it's loading. I'm going to have it, and I'm going to have it ready for when he comes. I'm so excited.
So that's something that you can do right now is practice using Hoopla Digital and checking out Urban Legends, because I love Hoopla Digital. There are no holds. Anything you see on there, you can borrow and use immediately.
You will need your library card and PIN.
Yes.
And the PIN is the last 4 digits of the phone number associated with your account. I get that question a lot. It's the last 4 digits of the phone number that's attached to your library card account. Even when I have class visits, at the end, I ask them how to use the library and how to use your library account. And they say our library account numbers and the last 4 digits of our phone number. Yes, please practice doing that right now.
Okay, but not allowed. I'm doing it in my head because I don't know if I want to share.
Not allowed, everyone, to yourselves.
Exactly.
So we have just 6 minutes until we are joined by Varian Johnson. Oh, he's so great. And Shannon Wright. She's fabulous. At 11:30. So while we're waiting for them to arrive, you could ask us any questions in the comments. If you're a school that's waiting and is watching right now, please let us know your school name and your class grade so we can shout you out during the program. Again, Joanna, could you explain again the email address that they can use today?
Absolutely. Let me pull that up and then we can add that onto our comments as well. So that is the email address, ecdept@lapl.org. That's the email address that you want to use when you see, when we announce our free book giveaway after each creator has finished their presentation. And also, if you're inspired by anything the authors, illustrators, creators have presented or said and done or demonstrated, and if you were drawing along, please, we would love to see that too. And I'm sure our creators would actually want to see what they inspired as well. So That's also the email address that you would use to share your creations too. So I'm actually really excited for that as well.
And I'm so excited. I know you've been waiting for our creators, but we've just had so much fun just talking between the three of us. Not planned, but thanks for hanging in there, everybody, with us. I see behind the scenes that Varian and Shannon are here and getting ready. So I can't wait for this to begin. I'm really excited.
Yay! I know, me too. Varian and Shannon will be sharing their favorite images and scenes from their book, Twins. And they're also going to be talking about their collaboration process. They will also be giving advice to you about how to start your own illustrated story with your friends today. So very excited. Are we almost right? I know. We're counting down. Oh, wait. Yes. 3 minutes from now. Let's take a look. Oh, my goodness.
So before we have Varian Johnson and Shannon Wright, I'm echoing, Varian Johnson and Shannon Wright join us, please let us know in the comments if you have any questions about the library or any questions about the program today. Just let us know in the comments.
All right. So excited. I'll have to say, I purposely wore this lipstick to match the twins lettering on the cover.
It looks great.
Thank you.
Great colors by Shannon Wright. I mean, the art in this book, the story, so wonderful. And I'm going to tell you more about Twins after the program is over. And remember, you will have an opportunity to win this book, to have this book mailed to you, an opportunity to have this book mailed to you, but supplies are limited. But Joanna, again, will let you know the directions of how to do that after their program.
All right. Are we right? Oh, my goodness. Counting down. 2 more minutes. T-minus 2 minutes, everyone.
While Varian and Shannon are doing their wonderful program, I'm going to quickly run and get my art materials because I left them over at my other desk. So everyone, take this opportunity before Varian Johnson and Shannon Wright go live to get your art supplies ready, because you're going to be hearing some inspiring advice. And while you're listening to Varian and Shannon, an idea may pop into your mind, and just start writing it down or drawing whatever you're feeling or thinking, just so that you can remember for later.
Should we try this again, Lauren? Do you want to pull it? No. Okay. I'm sending you the markers. Yeah. Okay, ready? Oh, here, I'll send them to you now.
Here we go.
Oh, wait, no, you're over there. Okay, ready? Right?
Oh, I got it.
We have fun.
Libraries are fun.
Yes.
Reading graphic novels is a lot of fun. Am I right, everyone?
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can get my colors to match the cover, too. I'm going to get ready with that. I have
my paper.
Oh, no, this pink is better. And my gigantic pad of paper. So excited. Hey, I'm looking at the clock. It is 11:30.
It's time.
Is it time? It is time for Varian Johnson. It is time for the wonderful Shannon Wright. And it's time for me and Tina to leave. Enjoy, everyone.
Bye, y'all.
Okay, wonderful. Shannon, Varian, it is so great to have you here at our celebration today. I'm so excited. Everyone, like I said before, Varian and Shannon will be sharing their favorite images and scenes from their book Twins and talking about their collaboration process. I'm actually glad you're sharing it because I have too many favorites from too many favorite scenes. So if it was me doing it, we would be here all day. So I'm very excited today about about learning how to start our own illustrated story with my friends as well. So without any ado, Varian and Shannon, take it away.
Thank you.
Hello, thanks.
Shannon, hey, how's it going?
It's going good. It's going good. It's sunny over here. Hope it's sunny over in Texas.
Yeah, it's good weather. Where's that cat of yours at?
I'm in Virginia, so it's actually really nice. I went out skating yesterday, roller skating. So
No. Where's your cat? Where's Nigel?
oh, I had to kick him out of my studio. I had to kick him out.
Okay, so we should talk about twins. And I know we'll talk more about the book later on, but Twins is a graphic novel. It's our first graphic novel. My first time writing one, your first time writing a full-length, many pages graphic novel. And it was like, I guess it was different for us with the collaboration process. I know for me, primarily writing prose books is usually just me writing the book, and then at some point someone else takes a look at it and it goes from there. But here, I'm working with you, writing a book with you in mind, knowing that you're going to take my ideas and my words and transform them into something else, which felt amazing, but also really, really scary too. But what was it like? Because you've worked on picture books before too, and then now graphic novels. What was it like on your end?
So it was definitely a different experience. Like Varian mentioned, I have done picture books. I have done 2 so far. I'm working on a 3rd one. And the difference this with twins and my picture books that I experienced was me and Varian were very involved with the process with each other. We shared notes. We went back and forth, asked suggestions and just comments and stuff. And that is something that doesn't really happen over in the picture book land. I never really interact with the writer ever. I just get their text, and then I do the pictures, and the editor is just our middleman. Where with twins, Varian and I, and this is not the case for everyone, but Varian and I worked very closely, and I think it actually worked out in our benefit because a lot of people had said that it felt very seamless, like everything seemed very seamless together. And I think that's because we tried to stay on the same track and like the same like brainwave and stuff like that. So it was, like you said, it was a little scary because this was my first time illustrating a text, so like such a large piece of text. But the end product was amazing. I'm very proud of it. I'm pretty sure you're very proud of it. And that came with collaborating.
We've been really, really lucky. A lot of folks have loved the book. And I know for me, a lot of it was inspired by both my childhood. I'm a twin. I'm a few minutes younger than my twin brother. And I'm very much like Maureen in the book, where when I was younger, I really struggled when we were put in separate classes. So that was a big inspiration for me. And then my daughters love graphic novels. We wanted to see more Black kids, more Black girls in graphic novels. And I was bringing all of that into it when I was coming up with the text. But you had this vision for these girls and how they looked and their sense of who they are, which, I feel like their art mannerisms add to who they are just as much as what they say or maybe don't say. So much is conveyed via emotion, via look, via attitude and things like that. And I'm curious, where do you draw your inspiration from with when creating the characters and the world of twins?
A lot of it just comes from, a lot of it's myself, especially in terms of their expressions and their emotions. I'm a very animated, emotional person. Like I wear my heart on my sleeves. And so when I'm drawing, I kind of tap into all of that. So if a character's like giving an angry expression, I catch myself like making that same expression. If they're upset or sad or happy, I do the same thing. But also a lot of the inspiration in terms of like design, clothing, features, just mannerisms come from like my family, a lot of like cousins and stuff, but also a lot of the kids I've met during like visits and career days and stuff. So I took like what I saw in my everyday today, and I just applied it to the book. And that's something that can really help you bring your images to life, is falling back on real life at sometimes. If you're getting stuck on like fashion and stuff, just look around you, like what are you currently wearing? What is currently being worn amongst your peers and stuff. So that's something you can definitely lean on if you're trying to draw inspiration for design.
I'm gonna see if I can share my screen because I want to talk about favorite images, favorite spreads in the book. Do you have a favorite that you want me to flip to? Let's see if I can share this first.
I do. I also have some. I made like a very short 6-thing slideshow in case I wanted to share too.
Oh yeah, then share yours then. I'm gonna cancel mine. You share yours.
Okay, yeah, I'll share mine. So let me share. So can everyone see? Yes, there it is. I see it. So so here are the girls. You can obviously you can tell the difference between their personalities and stuff. So this is Francine down here, and this is Maureen. She's a little bit more worried at times, and Francine's a little bit more confident. But yeah, these are our girls, and I wanted to show off some of those differences between them. So here we have it. We have Maureen on this side, Francine on this side, and just like making them and creating them, they have their differences in terms of just style and how they're holding themselves, how they're standing and stuff. We have like a more nervous, closed in stance compared to Fran, who's like, I'm here, deal with it. And that also like reigns true with their friends. Again, I went back to like style and stuff. This was an exercise I just wanted to do to like test like style treatment of like clothing with their other friend group and stuff, you know. They all have different personalities and style and stuff and whatnot. Also, we're going to talk about, you know, how you can get to making your own graphic novel and whatnot. But I wanted to show you like it takes a lot to get from start to finish with writing, drawing. And so with making twins, I had to start from somewhere, and it evolved into what we see today. So this is the sample that it started with, and it's fine, but I grew as an artist and I grew as a person, and it over time it like changed and whatnot. And I'm very happy with the style and the vibrancy that we landed on at the end. And that's just something you learn trial and error and just like drawing more, writing more, and just experimenting more. So in terms of like creating a world, just like our favorite spreads and stuff, these are two I really enjoy. I have a lot, but I'm just going to show two. And these involve a lot of children and just a lot of depicting the school and what it looks like. And so the hallway scene is like one of my absolute favorite scenes. Because you get that sense of being in middle school and being like left behind in a sea of children. And then this one, it's funny because they kind of parallel each other, where you have Maureen who's super scared. She's by herself and whatnot, which contrasts here later in the book where we see her surrounded by friends and people and she's laughing. She's not scared. She's not scared here and whatnot. So these are two of my favorite scenes, mainly just because we get to deal with the environment. And so, yeah, that's...
But before you stop sharing, can you back up really quickly?
Yeah, you want me to go back up?
Just back up to the slide before.
Okay. Let me.
Oh, sorry, the one before that. I can't count. This one.
Yeah.
Can you walk folks through just process, because they may not understand what the difference between pencils and inks and flats and such. Can you just walk through all those different steps?
Yeah, definitely. So as you see, like sample, I'm just gonna like put it out there. Sample is just the initial page that I sent to the publisher to see if I was fit for the project. So from there, if we backtrack, take it all away, we have sketches and pencils. They're super rough. That's where the foundation and the groundwork really comes to be. So it's a lot of like messiness, but it's so you can lay that groundwork and build up from there. So it's sketchy. I'm just laying in where the characters and speech bubbles might be. And then you go into inks, which is the next step, and it's more cleaned up. It's more refined. We're getting closer to that final art. And then from there, what I do is I do flats. And essentially what flats are is you lay down base colors. They don't have to make any sense. As you can see, like Dad's green here. He looks like the Hulk. It doesn't matter. But you lay down these base colors. So when you go to color, you get to your final colors, you can quickly just select things digitally and just lay those in. And then from there, we lay back in the lettering and the speech bubbles, all those things that make a comic a comic. And then we end up with this final. So there's a lot of steps, but they're all necessary to get from point A to D or E or whatever this point is. I was like, it's not point A to B, but there's some steps in between.
Yeah.
Let me stop sharing.
Yeah, I think it's just amazing just when you think about all that goes into it, and like from the writing side, I don't think about that nearly enough. I know, like I understand there are roughs, there are sketches, and there are inks, and then there's final. But flats was a thing that I didn't really even understood that and the importance of it until we started working together, and I realized, oh yeah, this makes the process a lot easier to do. It
saves your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's also, I guess, a good way to get started too. Like, folks will use that as ways they're introduced to creating comics or graphic novels. It's a good way to get started. The flats or coloring into kind of breaking into the business down the line, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to mention, and these were words that I got from, I went to a seminar, and Jessica Abel was there. And a kid in the audience had asked, how do you make a graphic novel? People are always wondering, how do you make this? And her words were, you make a graphic novel by making smaller comics, and then you just build yourself up. And so I'm going to show one example of like a smaller comic that's like, you start it and then you just build more and more. So this is called a zine. And it's super simple to make. I'm going to unfold it real fast just to show you. It's just a single sheet of paper that you cut down the middle and that you can fold and that you can eventually make it into an 8-page book. And so I made this one called I Love My Cat, Nigel. He's not here right now. And it's super simple. You get storytelling and you get illustrations. You're combining the things that me and Varian did together with writing and illustrations. And it's super simple. You can tell a super simple story. And it starts, and it doesn't have to be super clean or precise. It's a good way to just make art and create.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. So many folks will get intimidated, right, if they see this final book that's done and they think, oh, I can't do this. And they don't realize like the time it takes to learn how to do that, the time we take in writing and revising the work, the time we take in studying. And like you start somewhere and you just get better the more you do it. I was doing a school visit once and I told a student, they asked like, what was my favorite book? And I always, it's always hard to answer that question. But I said, that's what was my most successful book. And I said, it's people measure success differently, but I want every book I write to be better than the one before it. And that doesn't mean it's going to sell the most books. That doesn't mean that it's going to win more awards. That doesn't mean anything like that. It just means I'm getting better at my job. And I feel like if I'm getting a little bit better every time I'm doing it, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And I think that's true. You're always getting better.
Yeah. And like you said, like success is, people measure success differently. But I agree. I like measuring my work in terms of, am I better than I was previously? And I believe I am. I think I did a great job, and I think we did a great job on Twins, but I'm also looking forward to just being better towards the next project I do. Yeah. And it's scary, but it's also so exciting to just strive to just personally be better for yourself. And for your craft.
Yeah, for sure. One other piece of advice I would say for like writing graphic novels is that you have to go into it knowing that the final product is the book, right? And you have to kind of check your ego at the door. I think it's really hard. You get really attached to certain things, like with anything, and you have to realize, okay, well, is this serving the purpose for the story? Is this what I really need to get me from the beginning to end? Or is this going to take me off on the side road or distract from the main story I'm trying to tell? It's a lot to balance, but it's good to get input from folks, right? But you just kind of, it's like a muscle you build and you get a little bit better with it. And, I like to write something and then put it aside and then come back to it and put it aside. So I've got some distance. So I'm not, like, emotionally, I love everything. I think I'm a genius when I write, right? And then I come back and realize, oh, yeah, no, this isn't good. This isn't good. This isn't good. But it's like I use the good to get to great. Like I try to take those good pieces and then I revise them or take them out and add more. So it's getting better and better and better every time.
Exactly. I would also, the last piece of advice I want to give is if you're stuck on like a piece of your writing, a piece of your art, it is perfectly okay to just put it down, step away, and come back to it. Because there have been many of times and many of pieces where you're just looking at it for too long. So you're at that point where you're just like nitpicking. You're just like looking. You can see every flaw and whatnot. And I've noticed I've done that with illustrations, and then I'll put it away, wake up the next morning, and I'm just like, oh, this is fine. You're just like in a place where you're just frustrated. Yeah. And so at any point where you're feeling that frustration and you're just like, I don't have anything left, I'm burnt out, it's perfectly okay to just take a step back. And also it's perfectly okay to consume other forms of art non-related to your craft or career to further inspire you. I've done that before where I'm frustrated with illustration, but I still love art. And then I go and play a video game or watch a movie. And sometimes those things ignite that passion again. Yeah. So that's something to think about too.
Yeah. I love doing comics and I love doing prose books. And they both, feed my brain in different ways. And I know with you got graphic novels, you've got picture books, you've got other editorial illustrations that you do. Do they all kind of work in your brain in different ways or work together?
In some instances, like the process kind of works together in some ways, but when I approach a graphic novel, it is drastically different than how I'm approaching a picture book and also how I'm approaching my editorial pieces, because my singular illustrations, they're just one illustration. So I'm just focusing on that piece. With a comic, you're thinking about the full page, the full story. So I try to switch my brain between the two. It just makes life a little easier.
Yeah. I feel like someone may be coming on to ask a question from the audience at some point. I hope you all out there have some questions. And we'll wait to see. I will say while we're waiting.
Varian hopped off. Whoops.
During StreamYard, there's lots of different buttons. And sometimes you click leave studio by mistake. It's all right. Here comes Varian back.
I was like,
clicked
we
Leave
lost.
Studio by mistake. That is exactly what I did. I am so sorry. I was trying to click share and my hand was too fast. Oh, okay. Hold on. Let me see if I can share really quickly. Okay. Am I sharing now? Yes.
Yeah.
This is one of my favorite scenes. And like you did a draft of this and it say very similar to the final. But I loved it. And I loved kind of what you brought to it. And I think it's a great example of like I had in my mind a vision of like a treasure map and some of the pieces there. But then you took kind of my initial thoughts and you expanded it with how you show just like the heads of folks and like the the notebook paper in the background and everything. I just thought it was really, really awesome and a great example of collaboration.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's like because I definitely, your notes on like treasure map was a start to get to this, because I went into it and it was just, I think the note was like Maureen is trying to navigate the lunchroom. So I'm just like, okay, what does that look like? And then you had another note that said, I'm imagining maybe like a treasure map. And so that gave me material to work with. So I actually, in my twins folder, my reference folder, I have like treasure maps and stuff like that. And so it was a good starting point. And I was like, treasure map. I was like, I don't want it to be a literal treasure map. And I was like, what is something people like draw over? And I was like, oh, we're in school. Kids are forever, and adults too, are forever taking like loose leaf pieces of paper and like drawing maps and drawing directions and trying to figure out where to go. And so the treasure map was a great starting point that led us to this final project, final product.
Exactly. Yeah. And also like with this image, oh wait, sorry, lost you. Hold on. Actually, I know you're there. I just can't see you. Hold on for a second. I want to go to this image here. This one you talked about earlier. Where what I really loved here was how it's an example of, for me as the writer, knowing when to cut back. And that was something I had to learn a lot throughout the process. But like here we get that Maureen is alone. Francine, her sister, was right then she's gone and she's lost in a sea of students. And right, sure, I could have added a caption that said, I looked around and Francine was gone. She left me all alone. But like the power of the image just stands on its own so well. And it's just again the example of graphic novels and got a little feedback and trying to figure out that good balance between when cutting words to let the art stand for itself.
Yeah. I think there was a question. I think the question was just like, how did you get your start drawing? I've been drawing since I was like a little girl. I feel like that's like every art kid's answer, but I started drawing when I was super young. I watched a lot of cartoons and they captivated me. And then I was very fortunate to have a supportive family that encouraged me to keep pursuing art. And they did their best to give me the tools and the resources to pursue art and learn more. So that's how I got my start. And yeah, I'm still here.
I think that's great. I have a master's degree in writing, but I had a whole other career before I wrote full time, and I was an engineer. And I love that too. I mean, I love doing both of them, but I love that there's all these different ways that you can get to kind of being who you're supposed to be. And I think it's always behooves us to support our young people when they're trying to do something, and let them fly, let them soar. If not, they'll figure something else out, along the way. Yeah.
I agree.
Hold on, I'm looking here. I'm not sure we have any other questions. I'm scrolling through.
Yeah, I think that's the
Okay.
I think that's the only question we had, which was a
Okay.
good question.
Was okay. I'm going to ask you. What are you reading, or what are you excited about right now, or that's
Hmm.
out now or that's coming?
Huh? What was the last part?
Is it out that's out now or that's coming soon? Anything by any books, graphic novels, anything?
Oh, my friend Olivia Stevens is publishing her first graphic novel, Already in the Wolf Moon. Comes out in September, and I'm super excited for that because
Awesome.
I mean, I kind of read it already, but I'm super excited to actually hold it in my hands.
Yeah.
I love PDFs, but there's something special about just like holding that book.
Yeah.
And so I'm super excited for her debut graphic novel. I have a lot of books that I bought that I still need to read. So
Yeah.
that's the story of my life.
I am the same way. I feel like I am a good supporter of buying books. I am really bad about reading them right now because I'm terribly behind on there. I've been reading a lot of picture books here lately, which are great. I love picture books, and my youngest loves picture books. So we've been reading a bunch of those. There's the one called The Old Truck by the Pumphrey brothers, and it's amazing. They use like this stamp art to kind of create the images. If I had it by me, I would show it to you all, but my daughter stole it back from me. It's a really, really great book. Check it out. Oh, look, are you coming to kick us out? Are we?
No,
Yeah, we're about to
no, you gave me the cue when you said The Old Truck. I had to cheer because that is such a great picture book.
Yes,
I love that
it is.
book. I think it's The Old Boat that's next.
The Old Boat's coming out
Yes.
like soon. Yeah.
Yes. That was my cue, Varian. You gave me my cue when you said when you start talking about books.
wow.
So wonderful. Yes. Speaking of books that you want to hug, I just want to hug your book again.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
I also want to show. This was kind of. I took down some of your quotes as you were talking, and then so this is how you inspired my art today, and then just started drawing shapes around these quotes, and you can't see them, but I like lines for your treasure maps. Just really loved everything that you shared with us today. It was wonderful. Thank you for coming and visiting and celebrating with us today and talking about twins. Yes, you're right. Like I was following around. I'm like, yes, that is a favorite scene of mine too. Verified. All right, everyone. So next we have author Paul Downs and illustrator Michael Yates of the book Urban Legends. But first, I'm going to tell you about our awesome book giveaway, and Lauren is going to tell us why she loves Varian and Shannon's book, Twins. Again, you'll be hearing this from me a lot, everyone. So what you need to do is email ecdepet@lapl.org to receive a code for the book that you want. So with Twins, we have 10 copies. So the first 10 emails that we receive will get the code to have the book mailed to you. So remember, supplies are limited. As you email, you put in the subject heading Will Eisner and Twins. But again, please don't worry if you don't get an opportunity to receive a book. You can still borrow a copy from the book at the library. But yes, that's what you want to do, email. And also, again, use that email to share what you created. You can see Varian and Shannon really inspired me, and I know they inspired you out there as well. All your budding artists, writers, and illustrators, we want to see that as well. So please share what you create.
And also, as you're sending the email for the codes for your opportunity and chance to get a copy of Twins mailed to you, remember, it is also available at the library with your library card. You can check it out with your library card today. with our Library to Go contact-free pickup service. So I'm going to put the catalog link to Varian Johnson and Shannon Wright's twins in the comments, so you can enjoy that as well.
Hooray. And again, I put there's the email address on the banner and also in the comments as well. But we will be repeating this throughout our whole presentation and celebration today. Wow. I mean, it's hard to let both of you go.
I feel like if not, we're gonna eat up somebody else's time. Are we?
Yeah,
Are we
I know. I mean, I'm gonna, yeah. But it was just so wonderful. Thank you.
It was.
Thank you.
All right.
And now I'm going to book talk twins as we say goodbye to Varian and Shannon.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, Shannon. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you. Before we see Paul,
Yes.
just remember to email for your chance and opportunity to get the book Twins mailed to you. As you saw, the artwork is great, the story is wonderful, and you're going to find yourself relating both to Maureen and Francine, or Fran, as she likes to be called now, in this story. I really related to Maureen being afraid to talk, to speak up for yourself, to even talk to strangers like she is. But then I've become more like Fran, ready to face the world. So you'll see yourself in both characters. So now it is time to introduce Paul Downs, Michael Yates,
How are you?
Anna, from Urban Legends. I am
How
pumped.
are you?
I'm pumped.
Awesome.
I'm
We are too.
excited. Now, Michael and Paul, before they start, I just have one fun fact that I love about them. I have lots of fun facts I love about them, but the number one fun fact I have about them is that Paul was Michael's teacher
Yes.
at Wrigley School of Art and Design, the #1 animation school in the world. And now they're working together and collaborating on lots of great projects, including their book, Urban Legends. So let's enjoy. I'm just going to tell you a quick little summary of what they're going to present today. Michael will be sharing his journey to working as a story artist at Pixar Animation Studios. Michael will share some of the work from the past films he's worked on and why he likes to communicate in comics. Paul will share how to create characters for your stories and how ideas for characters are all around you if you pay attention and observe. Paul and Michael will also share their journey to make their book Urban Legends. Now that's a lot, so let me go away and everyone enjoy.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Hey, everybody. All right, Michael, you can go first.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us today. Excited to share. And then can you all see that?
Yeah, I can see it.
Cool. So I like to start all of my talks by just talking a little bit about me, and where best to start than me as a kid. So I was born and raised in Northwest Indiana, about a half hour outside of Chicago. And this is me about the same age as Dwayne is in Urban Legends in middle school. And I grew up on a steady diet of comics and animation. And so after graduating from high school, I knew that I really wanted to try my hand at like doing it professionally. Like, could I be an animator? Can I learn how to make movies? Can I learn how to do comics? And so I attended Ringling College of Art and Design, where I studied computer animation. I drew a lot there. That's where I met Paul. He was one of my teachers there. And from there, I had a couple opportunities to intern at different animation studios. In 2012, I was lucky enough to intern at Disney Feature Animation, and I learned a ton there too, just about storytelling and drawing and what it takes to make a Disney animated feature. And the year after that, I interned at Pixar Animation Studios, and I learned even more there. I feel like everywhere I go, I just constantly learning more about storytelling, more about drawing, and just trying to get what's inside of me out to the world in different forms. So after the internship at Pixar, I went back to school where I worked on my thesis film with my partners called The Legend of the Flying Tomato. And it's about like this girl who wants to be a wrestler. It's like really fun. And after that, I graduated from Ringling, where I moved to LA for about a year, where I worked at DreamWorks Animation Studios. And they're the ones who make Shrek and How to Train Your Dragon, Kung Fu Panda, all those good things. And after that, I headed back up to Pixar, and I've been there ever since. I think I'm coming up on my 6th year there now, and it's been great. And then here are some of the movies and different shows that I've worked on throughout my career. At Pixar, I worked on Cars 3 and Toy Story 4, and recently on Soul. And at DreamWorks, I worked on the first season of Troll Hunters for Netflix. And I've also worked on Craig of the Creek and the short called Weekends, which was Oscar nominated, I want to say last year. It's really good. Just check it out. So the whole time when I'm working in animation, I always have like this desire to get back into comics. It was something that I always loved as a kid. I read a ton of comics in middle school. It was like go to the bookstore and just grab comics, sit down in the aisle and just read them there. And I was constantly reading. I was also drawing comics. And I think right after I graduated from school, Paul and Nick came to me about this idea of urban legends, and I was like, yeah, sign me up. And we began working on it, and it was a long process. It was like a lot of drawing and telling the story and then redoing it, like, oh no, there's a better way to do it, there's a better way to do it, constantly redoing what we did. And it was about 2 years until we found a publisher who was like, we love it, and they decided to publish it, and that's when we really hit the ground running. It's definitely a fun process, but it's definitely a lots of like ups and downs throughout the way. So one question I get a lot is like, why comics? Why do I like them so much? What's so great about comics when you're in animation as well? And I think ever since I was a kid, I just love to draw. So these are like some of my sketches from my sketchbook from a couple years ago when I visited Japan. And I kind of just use it as a way to record things from life. So it's not like drawing exactly what I see, but almost like what things feel like, how people look in my mind, like that snapshot of like what that person looks like. I draw what I see, just like different monuments and things throughout. Like this is a shrine. This is me seeing what I see, drawing it. And also like what I feel, like when it's really hot outside and you're just drenching in sweat, and it's like, oh my gosh, I just want to get back to the air conditioning, and just trying to really visualize those things. I also draw what I eat, just different dishes, different things that are interesting visually that I haven't eaten before. I'm like, oh, let's just draw it. And like I said, I just try to like really record what sticks out to me. And I think the reason I really love this more so than just taking photos is because you can kind of, everyone's lens is different. So like if you take a photo, whenever someone looks at it, it's the same thing. But if I look at something and you look at something, we're going to see it differently. And drawing kind of allows you to show people what you see. So I like to record like the funny moments in my life. It's more adventurous while traveling. Or like one time when I went to the Nike headquarters to give a talk with Pixar, and it was like this beautiful campus and all this stuff. But I had gotten in trouble by the host because I accidentally wore Adidas to the Nike headquarters. And it was like a really big deal. And I was like super stressed out already because I had to give this talk. And then he's like, what are those? And then I was like, oh, wait, are you serious? And I couldn't quite tell if he was serious or not, but he was serious. But I also like to draw and tell comics about like the not so fun moments, like when my car got broken into. And I just love how comics allow you to express things that you feel. Like I can still smell them inside the car and things like that, where you wouldn't necessarily be able to take a picture of that. It just like gives you a deeper level of storytelling and expressing yourself. Yeah, and you can make a comic about anything, really, anything you can imagine. Like this one, I did this as a kid. I loved playing basketball, but I also suffered from asthma. And so for Asthma Awareness Month a couple years ago, I made a comic about like what my lungs feel like during an asthma attack. And so like the comic can be really long, really short. It could just be about anything. Even like complicated issues, like look into systemic problems in the housing market. I did this one recently for another project where taking something that's like super complicated and just like truncating it down to be as easily digestible as possible for people. I feel like comics are just so malleable and able to do many different things. Also in middle school, I remember reading about like this samurai called Yasuke, and he was the first Black samurai ever. And there was a story that stuck with me for years. And recently, I was able to research it and make a whole comic just about him. So, like I said, you can make a comic about anything from the mundane to historical to even just like things about your life. Like this one, which is just about what my life has been like during COVID-19, where it's just like constantly on Zoom calls all day long, missing the outside. But yeah, they can be short and sweet. They could be epics. Yeah, I think that's the fun thing about comics, that they could pretty much be anything. And all you really need to make them is just some panels and a story to tell, and just you could draw them on paper, on your iPad, on your computer, pretty much anything. And so I was just thinking like just letting you all go out and make some comics. And that's it.
Awesome. All right, let me share. Cool. All right. So just to kind of follow up on, on who I am. Let's see. So I grew up in Everett, Mass, which is just a city right outside of Boston. It's just kind of right across the water right there. Growing up, I loved sports and I loved art. So this is stuff that I had done in, I think like it was 7th and 8th grade and stuff like that. It was always collaging things together and just doing my two biggest loves in life. And just kind of falling in love with the process. I went to Ringling School of Art and Design. Michael went when it was College of Art and Design. And so I'm a lot older. This is 96 when I went as a pre-college student. I graduated from there and worked on some computer games that, have long since expired, but it was a great experience, learned a lot, and, continued to develop skills that I wanted to do. I moved on to a studio called Blue Sky Studio, which was 20th Century Fox. And I worked on all of these films over the years. And I worked on the Tom Brady version of Madden, which I was extremely excited about, of all the Maddens. So that's been great. And then, of course, Urban Legends, which we're going to talk about today. So I wanted to just talk briefly about creating characters. And similarly to what Michael's saying is, you have characters all around you, just like you have stories all around you. So what is a character? It's a person, an animal, a being, a creature, or anything in a story. And it's who the story is about, it's who we care about, and who we root for. So when you're watching a story, you're trying to ask yourself, why are we caring? Why are we invested in this story? It's because they have a backstory. They came from somewhere. They believe in something. They have wants. They have needs. And they also have flaws. And that's just like all of us. We all want something. We all need certain things. And those two might not align. And we have flaws. And sometimes the flaw comes to what we want is not really what we need. My kids are always joking about, Daddy, I need the latest blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, you don't. You need water, but you want that stuff. So one of the quick ways that you could do when you're coming up with ideas or characters, and you could do this from anywhere, is just think of opposites. So you think of, okay, rats, and you think of where would a rat not belong? And you say a fancy French restaurant. And that's Ratatouille. That's the jumping off point for that idea. And another version is you go fast and slow. So you go slow with the snail and you go fast with NASCAR. What if a snail wanted to be a NASCAR driver and you have turbo? And the cute innocence of a baby in the hard-nosed, brutal reality of a businessman and now you put those two things together and you have Boss Baby. And a lot of times there's these conflicting emotions and wants and needs and everything that help create really fun characters. So this is something that you could do anytime. Think of something and then think of the opposite of that thing and create a story, create a character. It's just a really easy way of doing it. The other way of doing it is to look around you. So your parents, your grandparents, your siblings, teachers, coaches, friends, everybody's different. Everybody has a different personality, and they're all characters in their own right. So look at that and maybe develop characters based on people that you know, so that you're starting somewhere specific. And don't forget about you. So what are you like? Do you have a strong opinion about anything? You know, like, how do you feel about homework? You know, that would be an interesting character jumping off point. Are you going through anything that you'd like to talk about? Is there anything that you'd like to discuss in kind of creating a character and speaking about your own feelings through that character is a really good way of creating a great character and also kind of sorting through your thoughts and your feelings. So at Ringling School of Art and Design, I'm just going to give you a few examples of how I did this. This were my thesis. Yes, that's true to height. You know, I know I look very tall in this little square, but I'm not. So these were my thesis partners. We all worked on the same film together. So whenever we were developing our story, we all had to have a character. So we basically made ourselves. So if you look at Jason on the right there, he looks a whole lot like the Jason on the left there. And I wasn't bald at the time, but I am now. So I look exactly like that character in the middle. And so we tried to look at ourselves for our likeness and things like that. So after school, I went to Blue Sky and I started to pitch ideas. So I started to think of, who am I? So when I'm around new people, I'm a very quiet person. When I'm around people I'm comfortable with, I completely transform and I let my guard down. It's like there's two me's and they're constantly battling each other. And I wish I could be the comfortable me all the time, but I just can't be. So I wanted to tell a story about a character that's one way and has this other personality that's kind of manifesting through, you know, and the conflict that those two things can have. And that's where that story came from. I had an opportunity to pitch a children's book idea to HarperCollins. So I was like, all right, let's think about this. So I personally love the smell of skunks. I always have. It makes me think of summer. I love the smell of skunks. So, and at the time I was starting a new job and I didn't think I was good enough. I really wasn't good enough. I stunk at it and I had to get better. But my friends and family helped support me through that time. So I came up with a story called I Stink about a skunk that is really bad at hide and go seek because, you know, you can smell him from a mile away. So he tries all of these things to get himself to be hidden, but none of them work. And in the end, you know, a friend is able to tell him, well, you might not be good at hide and seek, but look at all this other stuff you're good at, you know, as you were trying. So again, pitching back at Blue Sky, this time I teamed with the co-writer of Urban Legends and we started to pitch ideas together. So for this, we had just become new parents. We had no idea what we were doing as parents. It was like, there's no manual, there's nothing. We're just on our own. But we knew we wanted to become our kids' heroes. And we also love space adventure movies. So this is us having no idea how to parent and, you know, like trying to break up a fight between our sons and daughter. So we pitched an idea called Nolan Hoover Conquers the Universe about a clueless dad that's on this adventure with his family and trying to figure it out while he's battling space aliens and things like that. Another one is Some Assembly Required. So Nick and I, we love modern day fairy tales. We love tinkering and building things with our hand, art specifically. Nick's mom was adopted and raised among friends who are considered family. And she raised Nick to believe that a family is what you make it. And we had a bit more experience as dads, and we strived to be as perfect as we could. So we created a story about a crafty young orphan who builds a set of perfect battery-operated parents, but they're constantly malfunctioning. He builds them in the likeness of what he thinks is perfect, but they're always malfunctioning and things like that. So it's Nick and I and our families. My mom at the time was a second grade teacher. So I asked her, can you have all of your students ask them what would make a perfect parent? So they all drew a picture and they all wrote a little blurb. So this one wanted the perfect parent would be somebody who did his homework for him. and would never punish him. And this one is, it would be a robot, and they'd have a ton of arms, and anything that they needed, they'd be able to provide. And then this one was funny because it was the perfect parent would be a squid shark.
I like that
And
one.
it's the best. A squid shark is the best parent. And it would catch fish and do all of these things. So we're constantly trying to work with everybody that we know and bounce and get character ideas from each other. So then finally with Urban Legends, growing up, we all loved family adventure films, but they're all very suburban. They're all like very similar in that way. And I grew up in more of an urban location with more diverse friends. So, you know, my friend group didn't really look like the friend group in the setting didn't look the same either. I grew up, my backyard was a cemetery. So we used to hang out in the cemetery, ride bikes, and trying to chase down urban legends. And then Michael always strived to tell stories built around diversity. So as we're kind of developing the characters, we're starting to realize, like, okay, you know, Dwayne, there's a lot of Michael in Dwayne. There's a lot of Nick in Cashew. And there's some of me in Maya. This was right after I won a dance contest. This is what this image is. So there's like, we're looking at each other, at ourselves, and, you know, anybody that we can for inspiration. So again, parents, grandparents, siblings, teachers, coaches, friends, things that you feel, things that you believe in, anything could be a character. So you don't have to wait for the perfect storm of, you sit down and you go. And you'll be surprised how quickly really great characters develop out of reality and truth. So yes, don't forget about you. Okay, so just very quickly, I just wanted to give just the overview of Urban Legends. Michael, I hope you don't mind. I'm sharing a little bit of the process. So
Yeah,
this was the first image that Michael ever made. He read what we had for the script, and this was the first image that he created. And it was like, yes, 1,000,000%. I want to be in that car. I want to live in there. It was just brilliant. And we continued, like Michael said, it was a few years, you know, in development. So Michael would do all this amazing artwork, and he's not afraid to throw it away and start again and develop as much as he can. So he did multiple covers of the book to see what the cover would be. He did more artwork, you know, to visualize some of the legends and things like that, things from even other books that we were developing. So then through Humanoids, once we got that, now, you know, we're off to the races making the book. So these are some of Michael's roughs. This is what, when he's figuring out the composition and everything, you know, this is how he's doing that. And then move on to ink. So it becomes more refined, and he's, you know, I honestly don't know how. It's magic that he does this. I don't understand. And then the color comes into play, and, you know, it starts to fill itself out, and, you know, Michael's delivering pages and people are losing their mind with how beautiful they are and how dead on they are. And yeah, so that's basically it. Characters come from anywhere. Stories come from anywhere. You all have the tool set and the ability to just get started.
Yep.
Awesome.
Excited to see what you guys make so that I can read it in the future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the best part.
That was so great.
Awesome.
Thank you, Paul Downs. Thank you, Michael Yates. There is a question for you in the comments. If you are a person from real life, so if you're using a person from real life, do you have to ask their permission or to use their likeness? Or do you show them the artwork first before you publish?
I'll answer my part of it. In a lot of times, you know, when writing the character, it's the impression of somebody. So it's not the specific, like, wait a second, that's me on the screen. It's kind of a combination of several people, and you start to kind of think of, you know, this is what they're like, this is how they would act, this is what they would do, and things like that when it comes to their personality.
Yeah, I agree. I think like in your example, you're Maya. It's like
Right.
you're very different in the end result. It's just like the personalities are very similar. Like even if it's like you wanted to make a story about your brother, but your brother is a dog or something like that. I think
Mhm.
I think as long as it's not exactly your brother, if you did want to make a story about your brother, then I think it'd be cool to just show them that.
Right, exactly.
And then there's another question. Have any of your friends or family recognized themselves in your comics, and how did they feel?
You want to take that one, Michael?
Yeah. It's more than just comics. I try to put my mom in almost every piece of art that I do, every story, but in different ways. Like it'll be something that a character says is exactly what my mom says, and she always notices it. And it's always it's usually pretty positive. I think if the character design is too far away from her, she'll like, that's not me, that's not me, something like that. But it's always like as a joke.
And then there was a really fun comment while you were presenting where I was a quality assurance game tech for the Fisher Price and Jumpstart
No
games.
way! That's amazing. That's amazing. It was all done through Funny Bone Interactive, which was part of Vivendi Universal, and we were just doing it in Connecticut, in a tiny town in Canton, Connecticut. So that's amazing.
Oh, thank you, Paul Downs. Thank you, Michael Yates, for sharing your time and talent with us. That was wonderful. And Paul, I really loved your sports montages that you drew.
Awesome.
That was
Yeah,
super.
they're great.
Awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, draw what you love. You know,
Right.
that's what it's all about, is find that thing. And yeah, I got to the point where I'd rather, well, almost, but I'd rather draw basketball players than play basketball. But maybe that's not totally true. I definitely like playing.
And thank you both for sharing your journey and process, and for giving us such great ideas for developing our stories and our characters. You guys are just so great. And I loved Urban Legends. And it's time to bring on Joanna. Joanna, do we have giveaways for Urban Legends?
Is everyone ready for my spiel? Here we go again. If you want to have your chance to receive a free copy of Urban Legends, go ahead and email ecdept@lapl.org. We're putting the banner up right there, and we're going to put it on the comments as well. Once you email them, you're going to receive a code for this book, and then it will get it mailed to you. For the first, we have 10 copies of Urban Legends. So the first 10 emails that we get with the subject heading Will Eisner -Urban Legends will get the book mailed to you. Supplies are limited. I actually just got notice from the East Exploration and Creativity Department that they have been getting a lot of emails. So jump on that, everyone. But if not, don't worry. If you don't get an opportunity to receive the book, you can still borrow a copy of the book from the library. And remember everyone, we were talking about Hoopla. So get your library card ready. Hoopla. And look at the cover that they went with on the digital copy. Can't wait. So yes, that's what you need to do to get the book. And I also wanted to share, I added to my my inspiration art, think of drawing opposite. Oh, you can't really see. When creating characters and stories, what Paul said about thinking about opposites, and then also how comics allow you to express what you feel. Oh my gosh, so wonderful. I hope everyone is just, there's so much going on here, everyone. Awesome. Lauren, you just better kick me off the screen because it's very hard for me to say goodbye to all our creators.
Aren't they all so wonderful?
I know.
They are.
I know, I just want to hang out. But yeah, Lauren, get
okay.
me.
Thanks so much.
I removed Joanna. Because we're all just so excited to be with you all. We're lucky enough, and our viewers are lucky enough to spend this special time with you. So thank you, Paul Downs. Thank you, Michael Yates. Again, remember to send that email for your chance and opportunity to receive a copy of Urban Legends. mailed directly to you.
Thank you. We
so much.
appreciate it.
Always great to see you.
Bye,
Thank
everyone.
you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Tina,
Hello.
don't we have someone else coming up? Next,
We do.
we have Eisner-nominated author and illustrator Chris Grine of the books Time Shifters and Secrets of Camp Whatever, and his editor, Shauna Grahr. Let's do it, shall we? And before I have Shauna and Chris join us, let me just show Secrets of Camp Whatever by Chris Grine, editor Shauna Grahr, and Time Shifters. Let's bring them on.
Oh,
Hi, everyone.
hello.
Hello.
Oh, my hair's really big.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Good job making it big, Chris.
Sorry.
How are you guys doing? Oh, I guess this is just us now. I think this is just where I talk to you now.
I think so.
Awesome. Okay. So, hi, everybody. My name is Shauna Grahr, and I am a senior editor at Oni Press. And I'm here with Chris Grine, who is an amazing cartoonist and a good friend of mine. This is only the second book we've done together, but I worked with Chris on his first debut original graphic novel, which was nominated for an Eisner Award because it was just that dang good. And we've been trying to find ways to work together ever since. That was 15 years ago, 16 years ago. So now that I'm with Oni Press, Chris has a book coming out next week. This week? When did it come out?
I'm getting confused with all. It's like the 16th. Yeah.
It's the 16th. Yeah. So Secrets of Camp Whatever is the first book in a 3-part trilogy, spooky, exciting camp adventures, starring a really cool cast of characters, including our main hero, Willow. Yeah, so I've been working with Chris on this book for about 2 years, and it's out in about 2 weeks, and we're going to talk about his process and a bunch of different stuff. So Chris, I actually have my questions for you on another thing. Let's get started by talking about your art and how you decided to become an artist and when you started drawing, all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Well, pretty much as far back as I can remember, I was drawing and or getting in trouble for drawing at school when I should have been paying attention or whatever. So I just remember that. Going all the way back to maybe kindergarten, first grade kind of. But I was drawing before that too, just based on stories that my parents have told me. So I think I've kind of been doing that my whole life. And it wasn't until I'd say probably middle school that I kind of got into creating my own characters and not really full-blown story writing, but writing little comic strips and stuff with those characters in it, things that basically just for me or to show my friends or something to kind of make somebody laugh or whatever. But I've kind of been doing this forever, and it wasn't until, I mean, as far as comic books and stuff go, but drawing I've always been doing it. And I went to the Kansas City Art Institute for college, and then I actually transferred to Ringling School of Art and Design, like one of the gentlemen just before us was talking about. I graduated from down there, and at the time I thought maybe I was going to go into maybe children's book illustration because I was really I still am into that, but or maybe animation at the time. I ended up going to work for Hallmark Greeting Cards, where I worked in the humor department for about 15 years. But I don't know if you guys have gotten, greeting cards from parents or grandparents with cute little characters on them, or the cartoons like shoebox type cards or whatever. Odds are I probably did some of those. And then while I was at Hallmark, I decided to go ahead and try my hand at maybe getting something published comic book wise, because I'd always wanted to do it. And I had a little bit of free time. I didn't have kids yet. So I had some free time in the evenings to do that. And that's kind of where I started. I sent some stuff out. I had no idea what I was doing. So you don't have to know everything, how to do everything, in order to get into comics and stuff. Sometimes you just have to do it. You just have to make some stuff, and you have to get over any kind of fear you have of showing people your stuff, because that can be the most frightening part, is getting the feedback from people, especially if maybe they don't like what you're doing so much. But you just got to keep going. You have to just do that. And that's kind of what I did. And it's worked out. I've been doing comics now for about almost 16 years.
Yeah. Wow. Let's talk a little bit about your experiences when you were younger. I'm just curious, like when you were in middle school, elementary school, did you get art classes? You mentioned, like, we heard a little bit about your college age art stuff, but how about when you were in school?
I mean, nothing really beyond just what, going have an art class, that was always my favorite thing to do. And, but I always found other ways to do it. And my parents did sign me up for a few courses here and there, but this was very much before computers and stuff. So there was, I think if I was in middle school now, I could see my parents signing me up for like a Photoshop class or classes, that show you with art, software and different stuff like that. But at the time I did a few courses of like, pottery type stuff, or because there just wasn't a lot to choose from. At least I grew up in a very rural area. So, but I did kind of soak up as much art as I could, and I tried to be around people who I felt were very creative, even if they're just writers, or they were just maybe good at building stuff. Like, it didn't really matter to me. I just wanted to be around that kind of creativity.
Yeah, creative energy is a really good thing to find in another person.
Yeah, it was. And then when I got to high school, I actually met, I have a lifelong friend, my teacher. At the time, she had gone to art school, so she was, it not to say other art teachers aren't as good, but like, she had the same background of stuff that I was really wanting to get into, and I guess she recognized that right away, and she really kind of groomed me through high school and made sure I was on the right track and made sure that I was checking the right boxes for stuff to be able to do this, to pursue this, as a career, or at least through college and a career and just professionally. And it's been great. So I have a lot of teacher friends who I've stayed in contact with going on 25 years now. Gosh, I don't know.
Yeah, that's great.
But it's been great.
I like the stories. Can you pinpoint any, like, one incident, and maybe it was with that teacher you were just talking about, where it sort of clicked for you and you realized that this is what you were going to be pursuing once you got older?
It was more of a culmination of things, but the one moment that I really remember, and I think was when so in between my junior and senior year of high school, I went to the Kansas City Art Institute for like a summer program for high school students. And it was just I think it was a 2-week thing where you actually lived on campus, and you wake up, you had a routine, you had to go to classes, you had to draw for 4 or 5 hours a day, you had homework, but it was like a crash course of how to get to know what it would be like to be in art school. Well, I ended up receiving a scholarship from that based on what I had done. But it was when I got back to school the next year, and I was kind of coasting because I was already in college. I didn't need to do anything. Well, I had a real, this teacher I was talking about had a kind of a sit down with me about how I probably wasn't going to do very well after school because I was not focused. And it's true, I wasn't being focused. I was being I'm already done. I'm already in college. And I think I really needed to hear that, because I took that as like a personal challenge to prove her wrong. Not like to be mean about it or whatever, but I was like, no. I'm going to be able to do this. And sometimes, I think you just need that kind of motivation. And she was really honest with me, and I really appreciated that.
Yeah. Sounds like a cool teacher.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah. So, well, now you're doing this, and this is what you spend, I imagine, every single day doing. I certainly talk to you almost every single day as we're wrapping up this book and getting started on the next one. Let's talk about the tools you use for your art. What do you draw on? How do you draw? Do you draw on paper, or do you use a tablet?
It's evolved since I started getting into comics, and also since computers have kind of definitely taken off with the iPads and stuff now, which weren't around 15 years ago when I was starting. But at the time when I started, I was doing all my sketches or my penciled pages on they were like 4x6 note cards. In fact, I actually have one sitting right here. just like this. And the thing I liked about this was that I could take a stack of them anywhere I was going, and I would be able to work. It didn't matter, what I was doing or whatever. Like sometimes I'd have to go to, say, family's house for the holidays or whatever, and I could take this work with me, and it was very small. It didn't take up a lot of space, and that's kind of how I started doing my sketches and stuff. That's how I did it originally. Then I would scan those into the computer and eventually bring them into my actual computer my desktop, where I would take it into Photoshop and stuff. But since then, I've recently, in the last couple of years, gotten an iPad Pro, so I can draw right on that, and it has taken the place of all the note cards, and it's just as mobile for me, which is nice because I can move throughout the house. I don't have to be in my studio all the time, or I could go outside on a nice day, or go set at maybe a restaurant that's quiet, pre-COVID.
Yeah.
Just to get out of the house a little bit, but that's kind of what I would do. And so then after that, I don't know if you guys can see this behind me. This is my drawing screen here, where I have this entire area where I just have a stylus where I can draw. I just draw right on the screen, and that's kind of how I do the actual art. Where I'm doing the inking and the color, all that's done in a couple different pieces of software. The inking I do I guess to go back. If for anybody who's got iPads and stuff, I know it's becoming pretty common. My kids both have one. There's a program called Procreate that I use to do all my sketches, and I actually know a couple comic book professionals who do entire comic books in it. I'm not ready to do that yet. I still really like the software that I use on my desktop, but then once I get the sketches done, I'll do all the inking in a program called Clip Studio, which is kind of becoming the standard for digital comic book creating to some extent, and then all the color and every lettering and all that's done mostly in Photoshop.
Cool.
So,
I was going to ask you what your favorite tool was, but I think you probably just covered that in that.
It's all digital anymore. Yeah.
All digital. Yeah. Let's talk about the stories you create and where the ideas come from. Do you have a process for creating stories, or do you just like get an idea and write it down and work on it later? What is that like for you?
Sometimes I don't really, ideas just kind of come to me. And a lot of times it's like, for The Secrets of Camp Whatever, for example, I really that came from a desire for me to want to do a story about cryptid characters, like, folk tales and with Bigfoot. And I wanted to incorporate gnomes because I love gnomes. And I wanted to just bring all this together. But that's kind of hard because a lot of those things, at least, based in everything I've read, over the years and movies I've seen, a lot of those don't live in the same world, or they typically don't. So that was kind of like the first stages for me. It was like, okay, well, I wanted to do this type of story, but I don't know what the story is going to be yet, but I'm going to have to figure out a way to bring all these types of characters, together in one area that makes sense. Because for me, it's like my stories, for anybody who's read a lot of them, they're pretty silly and they're wacky, and the characters are pretty out there and all over the place. But I do try to make sure that they're grounded in at least in their reality, so it makes sense when you're reading, and it doesn't completely throw you out of the story, which is something I was trying to avoid with Camp Whatever. And that's kind of how I do my thought process. It's like I'll have a couple ideas cooking at any given time, and I never know when something's going to click with one of the other story ideas, and that's kind of how it all goes. Whether it's the main characters, because I think Camp Whatever is a combination of like 2 or 3 different pitches I had.
Yeah.
That they seemed like I was struggling with all 3 of them individually. Like I couldn't figure out where I wanted to go with them, or how to, where the story actually was. I knew the ideas I wanted to do, but there needs to be a good story and strong characters and stuff. So I figured out that I was actually writing 3 different pitches that pretty much lined up. And so I started combining that, and I was surprised at how well it lined up. And that's kind of where the Camp Whatever came from. But that's generally how I do a lot of my ideas. Like if I have an idea of something I want to do, for me, like a really long walk, going on like a 2-hour walk, it's just with no music, no headphones or anything, just me time, just in my head, where nobody's bothering me. I don't have to worry about checking my phone or anything like that. That's quiet time for me, like especially when I'm going to sleep at night. A lot of times I'll just lay there, and instead of fretting about not being able to fall asleep, I'll just let my brain I'll work out storylines, like kind of like for me, when I write a story, a lot of times it looks like a movie in my head. So I'll let the scenes play out in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I hit a wall with that or something, whatever, I'll just kind of rewind the movie in my head and maybe make a different choice or have the characters do something different until I feel like I'm getting somewhere with it. And then I'll start committing it to paper a little bit and writing things down.
Gotcha. Well, let's talk a little bit about collaboration too. So I'm your editor on Secrets of Camp Whatever. And we have, being honest, we have a very friendly relationship. We've been friends for years now. And but what is it like for you when you have an idea and it's something that you really like and you present it to someone like an editor for the first time, and then you start getting feedback from them about things that might need to be changed in order to make it better? What is that process like for you as an artist, and how does it feel?
At first, it was pretty scary. Like nobody wants to put your ideas out, especially ones that you've been working on or characters that you love and things that you want to do. It's really hard to put that out there, especially to an editor who can absolutely say, no, I'm not interested. I don't like this. Or they may say, I really like this, but I need you to change, this and that part. And maybe this character needs to change to be in, and sometimes that's hard because you've become married to these ideas and these characters for maybe a year, maybe more than that in some cases. And it's really hard to change that. But something that I had to learn, and I had been at Hallmark for a while, which I also worked with lots of art directors and stuff too. So I was kind of used to people making me change my ideas constantly. And so maybe it was a little easier for me at first, but I still remember it being very frustrating. But I've learned to really trust my editors. They are editors for a reason. They have that job because they've proven that they're good at what they do. And so if I'm trying to get a book published and I have to work with an editor, but I don't want any of their advice, then I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot. And I make, and a lot of with comics and probably a lot of professions too, is that you have to just have good people skills. You have to be, and especially when it's a team sport like comics kind of is, whether I know I tend to do all my own art and I write myself, but there's a lot of teams who there's a writer and there's an artist, or sometimes there's multiple artists, maybe somebody's just the colorist, and you have to find a way to work together, and everybody's going to have their own ideas and things that they want to do, and you just kind of have to be able to get your ideas out there, but also be able to share the space.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to talk about too was this book for you is a little different because when we were initially talking about it, and I knew I wanted to work with you on this story, but we needed to make some changes and sort of elevate it a little bit to try to make it, say, better than your last book. I think that's the goal that everybody has when they do a new project. Like, let's see if we can do it better than the last one. And one of the things we decided to do is to make the character Willow hard of hearing in this book. She uses sign language and she uses hearing aids. So I wanted to talk about that decision. Neither you or I are hearing impaired, but you do have a young nephew who is.
Yeah.
So as we were talking about it, one of the things that we decided was a goal with this book was to make it as inclusive as possible and make it so that, the more kids could see themselves in this book. And I think that's the goal right now for a lot of people who are making books and a lot of people who are doing publishing, is to sort of open the doors and invite everybody in and say, there's room for everybody in a story like this. So do you want to talk about the process of writing for that a little bit, and what we did to sort of work out the details and make sure that we were doing it correctly?
Well, for me, there was a couple things with Camp Whatever that were different for me too. One was writing a story that was primarily all girls. Mm-hmm. That was something that I don't think I would have been brave enough to attempt had I not had a 13-year-old daughter at my house right now who I can just study. But excuse me, speaking about her hearing loss and all that, is that I'd consider doing, having a character like this, or, but I'm so afraid, I was so afraid as a writer, because I didn't have personal, within my immediate family, experience with this type of thing. And the last thing I wanted to do was come off as insensitive or or just maybe just not understanding the situation as well as I should have. So having a nephew who wears hearing aids and has been going through, struggles through school, different things, and his dad is my brother, so we do talk a lot about just from a parent's perspective too of what it's like, having those challenges. And I knew that I wanted to do something this, but I was very scared right up until Shauna here. She had a great idea. Hired a sensitivity reader who had the background. Shauna, I mean, maybe you would explain a little bit more.
Yeah. So sensitivity readers are when are people who have a certain set of lived experiences. Book editors use them a lot if we're say we're doing a story with gay characters or a character who has a certain disability. We use it a lot. We use sensitivity readers a lot too if we have, say, Black main characters or any ethnicity. We usually try to find someone who is from that same world to read the book to make sure that the people who are writing it and creating the book are not perpetuating any stereotypes, even mistakenly. I think we all realize the state of the world right now and that it's really time for people to start respecting each other and take better care of each other. So we are, so that's something that Oni Press, the company I work for, does. And I think you're seeing it a lot more in general in publishing right now. But we worked with a wonderful sensitivity reader named Alexandria Gill, and she gave us lots of good critical feedback and helped Chris figure out the proper way to show signing in the panels, because Chris had to, the character Willow mostly uses hearing aids and she speaks, but she also signs sometimes because that's something that she learned. We worked with Andrea to make sure, or Alexandria, to make sure that the signs looked correct, that they would read properly to someone who also uses sign language. And so that was really helpful. And I think it really elevated the book and made it feel like, we feel really good about the feedback we've received on it so far. And I think we did the best job we could, at least, representing the experiences of what it would be like to be a girl at a spooky summer camp who is hard of hearing and uses a hearing aid. So we have just a couple minutes left. Let me see. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we wanted to talk about. Let's talk a little bit about the book. Why don't you give us a brief overview of what Secrets of Camp Whatever is about?
All right, I will do that. And this is the cover of it. I will try not to stumble over my words too much, but it's basically the story about a girl named Willow who she's just moved to a new town. But while her parents are unpacking, I don't know if anybody who's moved, I mean, there's always that initial couple of weeks of just madness where you're trying to get your parents are trying to get everything taken care of at the house, things unpacked, but also just everything. And so there's a local camp or a local summer camp in this town, and that her dad had gone to when he was younger. And so they signed her up and against her will and sent her to this camp where she didn't really know anybody. She's new in a town. So it was already kind of a stressful situation for her anyway. And she ends up going there fully expecting to have a miserable time. And I think what she finds there is that there's a mystery about the island that's what she latches onto. The other kids are very excited about just camp in general, but she kind of sees through the cracks and sees it for the weirdness, kind of like for what it is. And it kind of, she gets really involved with that, and she ends up dragging a bunch of other kids into her,
sleuthing,
I guess, sneaking out at night when you're not supposed to, and all, and just general, getting up to no good.
Yeah.
Not really bad, but just, putting places where she shouldn't be. And that's kind of, yes. And as the story goes on, the plot thickens a little bit, and they start to figure out what's going on. And I don't want to give away too much about it, because it's a lot of it is, I want it to be a surprise for the readers, but there is a lot of cryptid type characters in it. There's Bigfoots in it. And there's some gnomes, and that's about all I'm going to tell you, because I don't want to
Yeah.
I'm gonna ruin the bigger twist for you, but
Yeah, this isn't like a Scooby-Doo episode where they pull the mask off the guy at the end and it's like, hey, these are actual wacky monsters and mythological creatures and just all sorts of things sort of coming together on this one island where these kids go to summer camp every year. And in the second book, we talk more about so the first book is when Willow and her friends first go to this camp and her first experiences with it. And then the second book doesn't actually take place at the camp. It takes place just a few weeks after camp ends and once school is starting and that sort of thing.
Yeah, it explores the town a little bit more, and there's plenty going on in the town, and it's all tied together, and it's very much even though the first book itself is kind of a self-contained story, there's an overarching kind of story arcs for everything that's going on, and it definitely picks right back up in book 2, which is something I was excited about because I was able to just hit the ground running. In the second book, I didn't have to set up everything. I mean, there's a few things I have to set up along the way, but really it was great to just get in there. I already knew the characters. I knew how they would interact with each other, and I was just able to go and have a lot of fun with it. So, and I'm about halfway through sketching that book out now.
Yeah, and that was fun. Just as part of the process, one of the things I appreciated about working with you on that, Chris, is we were still solving problems up until the last minute, sort of with that book. Things that hadn't quite come together with the plot that we knew we needed to fix, like the name thing, which we won't talk about now. But that was such a fun thing to have. You know, as an editor, I had sort of a running list of these are the things I still need to get Chris to push a little bit. And Chris was saying, "This is what I'm just going to say that everybody forgot that." And I had to like push you a little bit more to like, no, we're going to really solve this problem. So the whole creative process is this sort of ongoing back and forth a lot of times. But I have to say, I think the book turned out amazingly well. And, I just appreciate you taking all my feedback with such a good attitude and working with me to make this the best book we could make it.
And see, guys, that's what we're talking about here. Like I had some questionable ideas about stuff. And I think the book was maybe 90% where it needed to be, but it was Shauna who really pushed me to get it to 100%. So that's what a good editor will do.
High five. High fives. Leaving me hanging. Hi, Tina. You're muted.
I'm muted. Now I'm not. Hi, we have a couple of questions. I wanted to get in my question, which is the main character in Time Shifters. He seems to have a similar coif.
I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't even put that together until after the book came out. I'm like, oh no, people are going to think that I was drawing myself, but I wasn't. I like just wacky hairstyles or just big hair in general. And a lot of my characters throughout all my books will have very odd hairstyles or almost like an exaggerated hairstyle. So unfortunately I kind of do have that same hairstyle. So it's hard to deny.
It's a good one.
It is. It's fun too. We have one more question, which is, what is the most challenging aspect of graphic novel creation for you?
I think it's just the time commitment. I mean, they take a long time to do. And for me, it's just making sure that I have the time to do it. And sometimes I want to just play video games all day, or sometimes I just want to go outside and play, but I have things I got to do and I have deadlines. And sometimes, that creeps into, just my free time, things I'd rather be doing. And you just have to, and when you're doing graphic novels, especially like myself, when I'm just working by myself, there's nobody telling me to get back in my studio and work. I mean, that's got to be something that I force myself to do, and sometimes that's difficult. But for me, that's what I find is the hardest thing is time and life balance. And by that, I just mean like making sure I'm getting enough sleep, or making sure I'm getting a little exercise, but also spending time with my family and my kids, and not wasting all that either. So for me, that's what it is.
A work-life balance is so important. That's really, really what we have to do, especially in this kooky year that we've had.
Yeah, and I think especially in creative industries too, when what you do for a living is something you also love, it's really hard to separate the two. It's really hard to say I have to stop working right now.
That's what I was gonna say too, Shauna. Was like, that's just it too. Is I love doing this. I love it. Like I get excited waking up. I mean, I know I got a ton of work to do, but I'm excited to start drawing or coloring or writing or whatever I'm doing. So it is very difficult sometimes to make myself stop and go be part of my family and do things. So.
Well, we thank you so much for joining us here today, Chris and Shauna. And I love just hearing about your process and also seeing your is that a Cintiq?
Yes. Yeah. It's
amazing. And seeing your workspace. I think that's really,
all my
really
cool
fun.
toys. All my cool toys are over here. So that's all my Star Wars stuff. And
wow.
I don't know. Yeah, whatever. Anyway.
I have an actual skeleton in my closet. There's a skeleton in my closet. I just realized that.
I love that.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
I have boxes of art supplies behind me. That is my background.
All good things.
All right. Well, thank you both so much. And it is time for our next presenter.
Awesome. Thank you, Tina.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye. Thanks.
All right. We'll see you guys later.
And we're back.
Hello.
Before we present the wonderful and talented Darnell Johnson of Power Up, Joanna, please share how our participants can get free copies of these books.
Okay. What I love when Chris mentioned about his characters were wacky, but grounded in the reality. We are 2 hours in, everyone. I'm going to be wacky because my reality is repeating this email address throughout the day, but I want to make sure everyone gets the information. So what you do is you email right there in the comments and in the banner, ecdept@lapl.org. And in the subject heading, you're going to put Will Eisner and the title of the book, Secrets of Camp Whatever. And it's by Chris Grine. We have 9 copies to give away. So go ahead, email really quickly. Huge thank you to Oni Press for donating these copies of his newest book, which comes out of Secrets of Camp Whatever. Guys, if you get it, you may even get it before it's available on the shelves. Because you can still, if you miss out on the giveaway, you can still check it out, place a hold on it. The book comes out on March 16th. We're so excited. Okay. And I know they talked a lot about the book. Do you want to talk about, add a little bit more?
Oh, Lauren? I love all Chris Grine's books, and we're going to mention our free giveaway of opportunity drawing for Time Shifters. But what I love about Chris Grine's books is his characters are so wild. You don't think it's going to work, and he always makes his stories work. Again, Time Shifters, there's robot Abraham Lincoln riding on a dinosaur. It works. He makes it work. There's gnomes all around and other, I don't want to ruin the book, but other creatures all in the same place, and he makes it work.
I just had the mental picture and sound of everything Abraham Lincoln ever said, now in a robot voice.
And he made it work.
So we're giving that out. Yay, you have the opportunity for that as well. So use that email address, everyone. All right, are we ready for our next creator? Let's get this going. Darnell Johnson is next. Everyone, Darnell will be presenting a drawing demonstration. And while Darnell draws, he will explain his process, character design, and give you great advice about drawing and life. So everyone, get your pencils and paper ready and enjoy. Hi, Darnell.
How you doing? It's great to be here. Hopefully you guys are ready to draw and learn something. I'm going to go ahead to share my screen. I mainly use Photoshop. It's my primary program that I use. All right, there we go. So, of course, you start with a blank page. And here I have my reference. So my process starts off with just figuring out character, and then that is kind of what dictates my reference that I find and I look up online. I use different software like Pinterest or Google, which is a simple search. So I'll just flip through my reference here. I like this hoodie right here. It's a pretty cool hoodie. Then you got this big red jacket. I like his hair as well. I'll probably use some of that in the character sketch. And also I just like this guy's swag right here. He's got the pink pants on with the pink, on the jacket sleeve there. So we'll see. Maybe we can put some of that in there as well. So those are my reference pics that I have. From there, I'll start with just doing like a rough gesture, just trying to figure out the pose of the character. Not worrying too much about, the anatomy and things like that. And I may go through different poses just to try to figure out the attitude of this character. There's one thing that I noticed that I still do. Even when I was little, I did it, and even now I'm doing it now. Like, I sometimes draw too big for the paper, so I have to like shrink it down. That's the beauty of working digitally. So yeah, that's one little pose right there. I'll probably do another one. Give it a little bit more attitude. Still just very loose. I'm just using a transform tool right there that allowed me to just shrink the picture down a little bit. Maybe I'll give him some big shoes. Now I'll go back, look at my reference, see what I can pull. Maybe I'm doing like a peace sign. This is pretty much kind of how I start off my character stuff before I get into doing any type of pages or anything. So I think I'm going to go with this pose right here. Because of the sake of time, I could, easily go through a whole bunch of different poses, just, playing around. So right here, I just kind of changed the color of the line work to red, kind of treating it like a technique they do in animation where they'll have like an underdrawing, maybe in red or blue or something like that. Even in comics, doing it traditionally, it'll be blue pencil that I would use if I were to do it traditionally. But since I'm on a computer, I just like the red a little bit more. All right, so let's start adding in some details a little bit. Still keeping it loose though. I'm working on that face. Now, if this tends to look like me, that's because I do a lot of, I would say a lot of studies when I was in high school, because I did a lot of portraits of myself, just for my portfolio to get into college. And I just have not been able to not draw myself when I'm drawing off the top of my head. So that's why a lot of times I'll also use reference for building characters and trying to make them look like different people. So I won't fall back to my default of drawing myself. So I'm gonna give him a hoodie. Let's zoom out. I'm gonna give him a hoodie. Probably put some of those little balls that we saw in the reference. Little puffy hoodie. Little pocket. I'm a big fan of hoodies. I love wearing hoodies. They're coming out of the weather for hoodies, but over here in Georgia, I know you guys probably over there in Cali, nice sunny weather. They didn't really have too much of a winter, I don't think. And I like the combination of the hoodie and the shorts. You know, it's just like, hey, you know, I like the hoodie. Throw on my hoodie, still a little bit warmer though, so I'll just throw on some shorts as well. So that's how he's feeling, this character right here. I'll put some high socks on him. Let's figure out some shoes here. Still want to go with the big shoes. I think I like that contrast. Now just blocking in some shoestrings a little bit. A little something that I'm gonna probably add into the shoes that's a little bit from my childhood. The little pump basketball that they used to have on the shoes. I never owned any, but I always wanted to though. So I like to zoom out and just get an overall view of how the character's looking. And I'll add a little bit more details, just keeping it loose. Trying to stay quick with my mark making. Let's not forget his hand over here. And his finger right there. A lot of times I like to listen to music as well to just get into the flow and kind of just zone out for the most part. So now we got that rough sketch in, a little bit more detailed than the first one. So I get rid of that bottom layer. I feel like tilting him over to the left a little bit. Just felt kind of off. Again, beauty of working in Photoshop. I love Photoshop. I discovered Photoshop when I was in high school. I think it was kind of early, for the program. Not too many people knew about it. I know I'm dating myself, but hey, I'm still young at heart. You have to be when you're drawing cartoons and comics. All right, so I'm gonna stop fudging around with this and move on to the next. So I'll just switch the color again. So it's kind of the same process that I did before. Maybe let's just switch it to like a blue Coolidge kind of like color. And then I'll make another layer over that. And I just saved. That's one thing I would say working digitally. You want to save all the time because you can have a computer malfunction and it'll just shut down on you and you'll lose all your work. And then you'll just kick yourself pretty much after getting in about 2 hours or 3 hours of work and then you just lose it. That sucks. The brush that I'm using, I just felt that I should share. It's something that I made myself, just learning the program and how to create a brush in Photoshop. It's a combination of brushes that have come with Photoshop, as well as me just manipulating the tools and the customization features that they have in Photoshop that allow you to make your own brush. You can also download brushes of your favorite artists out there. There's a lot of that out there on the websites that they have. I know I've downloaded some from some of my favorite artists that I follow. And yes, I'm an artist, but I also have favorite artists as well. Always learning. So what better way to, just look at your peers, look at people that you admire, and, just learn from them. It's not a competition. We all are artists and all are trying to learn and grow. So why not, do it together? Now we're just doing a little bit more clean lines. Probably do another pass after this, but for the sake of time, I'll just, keep it. So there we go. We're putting the little balls on it that I saw in a reference that I liked. Real loose and quick. I think it also adds a little edge to them as well. Even on here, on the sleeves. Real quick. No, I wasn't. I would say, just because I'm thinking about it, I know a lot of kids, even myself, whenever I saw other artists draw, I would go back and try to draw myself, and I would get upset because it wasn't looking how I saw them draw and how good they were. But I learned, just as I continued to draw, that it's all about pencil mileage. That's how I was told. It's all about pencil mileage. That means, just always drawing. Just dedicating that time, putting that time in to draw. Draw from life, draw from things around you, so that you're able to draw out of your head and draw the things that you enjoy, drawing. I know for me it was a lot of X-Men. I drew Pokemon because that was a big thing when I was younger, and I enjoyed watching Pokemon. Dragon Ball Z was another one, and then even going to the library and finding comics there, graphic novels. Calvin and Hobbes is one of the first things that I picked up when I went to a library, and it just had a whole collection of Calvin and Hobbes little comic strips. Not sure if any of you guys remember that, but also I would go to convenience stores in my neighborhood and pick up the comics that they had at the checkout line. So we got the pans right here. Sorry for the alarm going off. I'm not sure if you guys can hear that. Pockets. All right, let's get these legs in here. So I'm moving pretty quick. Just picking back up where I was talking about not being as good as I wanted to be when I first started drawing. Just kept drawing. I picked some of my favorite artists and then researched, who they looked at. Because a lot of times, they're also looking at people as well. And just practice. I would sit down with comics and try to draw the style that I saw that they drew. And then I also got hooked up on just trying to get my own style. That's not really important at the beginning because you're trying to learn the foundations right now. or at that age, I was trying to learn the foundations of drawing and just learning how to draw through shapes, how to draw from observation and things like that. So that was being hindered because I was trying to figure out a style before I could actually draw well. And that slowed me down for a few years. I would say even almost up to college. I was obsessed with trying to learn a style instead of learning the fundamentals so that later I could break those rules and naturally the style would develop. It wouldn't be forced or anything like that. It'll just come naturally. And I think that's the best way because then you're not sweating every time you're trying to draw something because you're trying to mimic a style that you saw somewhere and you you just throw it away because it's not what you're looking for. But if you just allow it to develop naturally, it'll come to you and you won't even notice it. But when people start to look at your work, they'll be able to recognize it because of how you draw certain things. So now I'll just get rid of pretty much the that blue underlayer. And then normally I will go once again over this and clean it up some more, but I'll just start blocking in where I will put my inks and stuff. So we won't worry about trying to clean this up right now. And a lot of times I don't really clean up my sketches or my characters that much. I just keep them loose. So like the X's that I'm putting here is something that I've seen comic artists do, and I kind of just adopt it for myself. Large areas that are going to be filled in with black, I would just mark an X there so that I can come back later, and add the paint bucket of black in there. But smaller areas, I'll just probably just fill in, just because it's not too much to do. At this point, I'll be just trying to figure out lighting, like where to block my shadows. A lot of times I like to play around with the shapes of my shadows, just make like funky shapes. So I'll just probably block this in all right here. Got that shadow right there in the pocket where it goes underneath. Maybe also putting some shadows underneath the drawstrings. Make those pop out. Still fairly loose. Shadow underneath the jacket here. And also you got this feature here where you can rotate. Because I don't have that fancy Cintiq yet that rotates. I have a little small portable one that I love. It's a life changer. Probably take that shadow out. I'm already looking at things that I probably would clean up and change in another pass that I would have done. But hey, we're having fun here, so I'll just keep rolling with it. So I'll make my brush a little bit bigger here to fill this big spot in. probably want to fill. No, I'll keep those open. I like that. Well, actually, yeah, I'll put an X. I'll make those black. Fill those in with some black. So I still want to work that pink in there some kind of way. Thought that was pretty cool. All right. I do a lot of this zooming in and zooming out. There's a little cast shadow there from his body. You know what? I may actually go ahead and do a little bit of cleaning up here. So, once again,
Darnell,
yes.
hi.
How you doing?
Please keep drawing. I just wanted to cover a question that we had in the chat.
Yes.
Just as you were drawing the clothes, we had a question. They were wondering if you took a course in fashion design.
No, I did not. I do have a passion for just fashion and clothes that look good. So I do a lot of, just research on Pinterest. Um, and I just love clothes. So I'm always up to date on fashion. What are the hottest kicks? What are the flyest clothes out there? And I just like to incorporate that into my characters to kind of ground them into reality.
It looks amazing. I think even like just taking those influences, you're even starting these trends. Like I love the texture on that hoodie as well. I want that hoodie.
Yeah, it looks comfortable. When I saw the reference for it, I was like, oh wow, yeah, I would love that hoodie. It's a full body hoodie. I'll bring it up.
Yeah.
This hoodie right here.
Oh my gosh, there it is.
It's a full body hoodie right there. I would wear that.
Wow. Everyone, that is pretty amazing. Like just looking at one picture and then being inspired and influenced, and you completely made it your own and came up with this really, really amazing outfit. It's also fashion forward. I think we just started a trend right now.
The little cotton balls on the hoodies. Everybody's gonna start out.
I know. Well, it's like we still have a minute or two left. So if anyone has any last minute questions for Darnell while he finishes up this amazing drawing demonstration, please get your question in while you can. We are starting to wrap up and have time. We want to make sure we have time for our final presenter. But I have to say, it's just amazing. Everyone, we just got to see a character created before our very eyes. And it's just been incredible to get to witness the process and witness how you do this.
Yeah, I'm glad to be able to just show, what I do and hopefully inspire the next generation to, do better than me and, just continue to create, because every day I'm seeing a lot of kids just drawing really well at an age that, I was still trying to, get my bearings and learn how to draw. So I think the future is bright.
Absolutely. I'm actually pretty happy that I was off camera. Like I was just so inspired by this character. Like I was just trying to copy his confidence and swagger. So I was doing this a lot, trying to strike the pose, hand on the hip, peace sign out, eyebrow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Gotta have the swag. Gotta have the swag.
So wonderful. Well, thank you. So what is the final touch that you would put for this?
The final touch would be, so let me just do the face right here for you.
Okay.
I would just come in here and just figure out my my shadow here. Remember when I was just putting the X's in? So I'm using a lasso tool right now to just lasso in the area where I'm going to fill all the black in. There are many other ways to do this, but this is just one of the ways that I do it. So I'll fill that in with a paint bucket. And then from there, I'll just start playing around with color. So I'll create a new layer underneath the ink, the little ink layer. And of course, this is still rough. Like I would do another pass to clean it up more, but just don't have that time right now. So I'll come here, use my lasso tool right now for this. And then I'll start figuring out, my skin tones. A lot of times I'll just drop a color in there and then just adjust it and things like that later. So play around with just the saturation and things like that. So even with the hair, I'll do the same thing. I'll just block in a flat color for the hair. Before I do any type of shading or anything like that. And again, this is just a character design. So when I'm actually putting the character in a comic, the lines will be a lot more crisper and cleaner, where I could just use a paint bucket for the most part and just drop that in there without having to use a lasso.
I know it's just a character design, but I feel like I want to know this character already.
Yeah, I try to do that with my characters. I want people to feel the character. I want people to feel like this character's in their neighborhood somewhere, or they can relate to the character. I feel that draws a lot of kids into comics, into graphic novels, where they get to see themselves in the things that they're partaking in or that they're consuming. That I think that just sheds extra light on them being able to just dive into the story, start to have dreams of their own, and then eventually take those dreams into reality, and then want to, create a future for the next generation that's going to be full of opportunities for them. So.
And thank you. I feel like you just offered 1 point for kids to be able to do that. Like, I want to know this character's story already. I want to meet him. I want to see and read about the adventures that he's doing. And most of all, I want to see what gets inspired by everyone else's reading. So thank you. And thank you also for mentioning the library and how that was your source for more comics and Calvin and Hobbes. I can tell you that's still a title that still gets checked out. So
Okay, cool. That's awesome to hear.
All right. Okay. It was just so wonderful. And I'm so glad. Do you have in mind, just really quick, a name for this character yet? It's just a design. I wonder if
let's call him Chase.
Okay. We got
Chase.
it. That is awesome. All right, everyone. Next up, we're going to have author and illustrator Natalie Riess of the book Space Battle Lunchtime. But first, I'm going to tell you about our awesome book giveaway again. And then Lauren's going to come up and tell us why she loved a few more things about Darnell Johnson's book, Power Up. But one final time, thank you. Thank you so much, Darnell.
Thank you.
That was amazing to be able to get to see a character just emerge from lines on the screen and on the paper. That was, I don't know, that was such a gift. Thank you.
I'm glad that I was able to share that, and thank you guys for just having me on. I appreciate that.
Oh, it's wonderful. Okay.
Thank you, Darnell.
Thank you. All right, everyone. Again, if you would like a chance to receive Darnell's book, this is what you got to do. Power Up, illustrated by Darnell Johnson. We have 15 copies of this book. All you have to do is email ECTDEPT, EC Department at LAPL.org. And in the subject heading, you're going to put Will Eisner and power up for your opportunity to get that book and keep being inspired by Darnell Johnson's work. Tell us a little bit about the book, Lauren.
Oh my goodness, I loved Power Up by Darnell Johnson so much. He has 3 different styles going on in this book because it's about 2 boys, Miles and Reese, and they go to middle school together and they play video games together, but they don't know that they're playing together as a team playing this video game. And he's able to have the style of them playing in the video game, then them in school, and then also throwback video game styles at the end. And I have to tell you, everyone, after the end of Power Up, I actually cheered because the ending was so amazing, and just Darnell's end panels just made you want to just stand up and cheer. So I highly recommend Power Up.
All right, again, email if you want your chance to receive the book. But also, if you miss out on any of those 15 copies, you can use the library to go and your library card to put a hold on it and read the book for free from the library as well. Okay. Lauren, our final presenter is on her way, right?
Yes, Natalie Riess of Space Battle Lunchtime, one of my favorite graphic novels of all time, because I just love the idea of going up to space for a reality cooking show, and Natalie illustrates such awesome food, and that's what she's planning to share today. So let's enjoy. Hello, Natalie.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to talk about drawing food.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you here. Natalie is going to present a food drawing demonstration. She will first explain why she loves to draw food and the different food textures. Let's enjoy. Thanks, Natalie.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction. As you heard, my name is Natalie Riess. I'm a cartoonist and illustrator, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about drawing food. Slideshow. There we go. So, as you heard, I did the series Space Battle Lunchtime. It's 3 books all about a Earth baker named Peony. In the first 2, she goes to space and is on some space cooking competitions, TV shows, and then the 3rd one is a catering murder mystery. I also did, so here you can see some brightly colored desserts that Peony likes to make, and some space meat. I also did the book Dungeon Critters with my partner Sarah Getter. It's not really a book about food, but there is a scene where one of the characters is really excited to eat hors d'oeuvres, which is, I don't know, relatable. So I like to draw food because it's fun, and I think it's a really useful storytelling element. So you can tell a lot about a world or a person from what food is eaten there or what that person likes to eat. It's also a fun challenge for me to try and convey one sense in another. So to take something that you would look at and be able to tell you like what that would taste like or smell like or feel like. Unfortunately, as a storyteller, you can't really taste what something would taste like from a picture. So we have to use the magic of art to communicate those qualities of that food. So the 3 main ways I like to approach it from are color, shape, and texture. We're going to start by talking about texture and mostly talk about texture today, but we might get into color a little bit at the end because I also love to color food. So let's move over to Photoshop. All right. So my plan here is that, okay, cool, there we are. So my plan here is to teach you how to some textures on their own, and then from there we can combine all those together to make one dish. So to start off, not technically a texture, but I feel like this makes food drawings look really good when you make them steamy, so you sort of tell the viewer that it's hot and it's fresh. So adjusting my opacities there, new layer. All right, so to draw steam, What I like to do is use big curved lines like this to make a puffy little cloud coming off of whatever the food is. Like that. So you leave it a little open at the bottom, or you can close it. It's your steam. You can do what you want. Maybe a little more over here. Again, making big C shapes and connecting them kind of irregularly to make little puffs of steam. Maybe add some little ones next to it. Add a little more texture. A cool thing about steam is that it's a very impressionistic thing to draw. So if you don't want to draw it like this, what you can also do, get my eraser here. If you wanted to approach it from a different, I'll just use the lasso. If you wanted to approach that differently, what you could do is draw sort of a, there we go. Draw like a wispy steam. So you draw a big S shape like this, kind of tapers down at the bottom, and then you follow that around like that. I think this looks really stylish, like on a hot drink or something. You could even make it a little more exaggerated like that. Or maybe add a little like curly Q on there. Something like that. Now next we're gonna go to crispy, like a breaded piece of chicken or like a vegetable, something like that. And what you want to do is make little bumps like this, just like make little rows of bumps, kind of following the contour of the object. As you're going around the outside, you might want to not make the shape perfect so it looks a little more organic. So you might have it go in a little bit and then come back out. Just make a generally round shape. The less perfect it looks, the more perfect it looks in my mind, if that makes sense. And then to get a little bit more dimension to it, what you can do is you can go back in and make little hills of, oh, am I still in? Sorry about the camera trouble. Am I back? Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. But yeah, as I was saying, you use some arcs here, some overlapping hills, like that, to kind of give it a little more dimension. And then add like a couple little circles like that to sort of imply spices or crumbs. I feel like that really gives you the like crunch factor. So you got yourself some crispy. Bready, I'm thinking like a smooth bun texture. So you're going to start off on top like that. Make a smooth line like the top of a freshly baked loaf of bread. And then maybe once you get down at the bottom, I feel like I'll probably make it a little flatter on the bottom so it looks more like bread. You can kind of wobble there. Or you can draw it straight. Basically, you're trying to imply like a little bit of a crustiness at the bottom. And then to make the top look a little bit smoother and kind of show that, like that dome shape, what you can do is do a little bit of hatching. So imagining that it's like this shape, kind of like you see it's a cylinder going around like that. You kind of make some little hatch marks, not too many, just a couple, like that. And that, just following the edge of where like the top of the bun would be. And then maybe to spice it up a little bit, make it a little more elegant, you can draw on, you know, on a baguette, that like slashed top, or like on a loaf of bread. So you use some V shapes like this to draw a little X. And then maybe you can erase the top here so you can dip the top like that. You can really see that it's going into it. So like when you're baking the bread, you do the little cuts on the top to let out the yeast gas while it's baking. But when I was a kid, my mom would tell me when she was doing that it was to let the fairies out. And I always think that's a cute story. So crystal, we don't really eat crystals. I mean, we eat salt and sugar and stuff like that, but I feel like a big shiny rock is always a really interesting texture to have in your back pocket for fantasy food or just for drawing fantasy stuff. So to make a crystal, what you do is you use straight lines to draw just a general polygon shape. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can be kind of irregular, especially if you're like trying to sell that it's a natural rock. Yeah, that's good. And then, so looking at the shape you drew there, you draw a smaller version, all with straight lines of that shape inside. Yeah, like an approximation. And then you see these two corners here. You go around in a circle and connect these to get yourself the basic gem shape. Like that and like that. So imagining that your light source is going to be coming from up here. Oh, light bulb. This area would be the most in shadow. So this facet of the jewel would be darker. This one would be a little bit darker. This would look, this is something that you probably want to do in the color stage, but I just like to think of where things would be when we get to them later. And then maybe you could use like a long, dramatic S shape to put a shine on the jewel to make it look even prettier. Maybe draw some little diamond shapes around it so it looks like it's sparkling. Okay, and then one of my favorites is like a good slime texture. So we're going to start off with like a more drippy, saucy slime, and then I'm going to talk about cheese because cheese has its own rules to me. So here, what you want to do is think about basically gravity acting on something like a liquid. So everything you do when you draw something gooey, you want to think about it going downward, unless it's not. Unless it's an anti-gravity, which has its own rules. But we'll start with earth textures for now. But yeah, over the top it'll be smooth, and then basically you're using a lot of long J shapes like this to make these like gooey slime strings like that. And you kind of want to vary them up so they're not all the same length. And then, yeah, just draw that across. Maybe give yourself a little extra drip. And then, again, use those big, long J shapes to add a little bit more slime to your slime ball. And then if you want to draw cheese, because I guess a spoiler for about a minute from now, we're going to be drawing a cheeseburger. I feel like cheese holds its shape a little bit better once it's melted. So imagine that you've got the top of it, and if you're laying like a slice of cheese on top of something, you'll kind of get the corner coming down from both ends in a V shape. Like that. But give it a little bit of a melted vibe. You can draw your one or two little drips there, but it's not quite as extreme. So you've got a little bit of a drip. And like that. And then if you want to like make it look like it's been broiled or something, like it's been placed really close up to some heat, you can use some hatch marks to get that like sort of mozzarella-y thing going on there. Some steam on that. I'd eat that cheese. It's really good. Okay, I'm getting hungry now. So let's back up a bit. Sorry, I'm working on somebody else's computer because it has a better streaming setup than mine. Let's get rid of these and go to draw a burger. So to start off, what I'm going to do is kind of sketch in the shape that I'm going to be using. It helps to think of this as a... it's basically a big cylinder. I'm going to make it a tall one so we can fit multiple patties on here. Because one of them is going to be like a fun fantasy thing. So if you're drawing along, you could like lightly do this in pencil, or maybe use a light color that you can draw over later. So I'm just kind of roughing in the rough shape that I'm going to be working with later. Come on. There we go. Since I'm working in the computer, thankfully I can just kind of drop the opacity on that and make a new layer to draw on top of. I'll make it a little bigger. There we go. Okay. So we'll start off on top with the bun. Let's use like a brown. Normally I color all of my lines in at the end, but I'll just pick the colors here. So make a nice brown bun. Again, you do the smooth top and the bottom with a little bit of a wobble to it, but not very much, keeping in mind the cylindrical shape that we're working with here. Then next we'd want to do, oh wait, no, I got a hatchet. Again, there's hatch marks along the top to give you that nice sort of egg washy look. Then next, I think I'm going to do some lettuce. So I've got myself a nice dark blue green here, the lettuce. And then, so you have it come out on both sides like that. And then you draw a big wavy line across. Lettuce is like a very ruffly condiment sort of thing. So I feel like it's pretty forgiving when you draw it like this. Like here. That's what lettuce looks like. And then you can draw yourself some little veins in there. Not too many, just enough to say, hey, this is lettuce. Come on. Okay. So then after that, I think I want to put a slice of cheese on here. Now, I'm going to make it blue for reasons that you'll get later. So again, you want to do that V shape that comes down, a little bit of a wiggle, like that. I don't think I'm going to put no, wait, I will. One additional drip. No. A lot of drawing is sort of like kind of drawing and see where you go to kind of find what you want to draw, if that makes sense. Like when I draw, I don't have a perfect image in my head of what I want to draw. I kind of work it out on the paper. So after we've drawn the cheese, I want to do the meat patty. So I'm going to pick like a dark purpley brown for the meat. And I'm going to use the crunchy texture we talked about. So using those little bumps. I think it could be bigger. Yeah. Using those bumps, you come down and around. Down and around. And then maybe come in and give it a little more texture on the inside. Since I'm thinking that this is like a browned ground meat burger, I think I'm also going to put a little hatching on there too to get that crispiness. If you maybe wanted to make yourself like a vegetarian burger, like a veggie burger, you could like draw the little beans in there, or if you want to draw it like a fried meat thing, like a breaded and fried thing, you could probably just leave it like this, but I want it to look like ground meat. So I'm going to use these little lines here, kind of hatch it up like that. There we go. And then we'll get into some cool stuff with color on this one later, but I'll get to that in a sec. Now next, I want to draw another slice of cheese, but this cheese I want to be a little more normal, so I'll go like with a dark orange for the lines. Basically do the same thing, but kind of like, for compositional reasons, have it come down over here. So that just means it'll look more interesting if these don't match. Again, just the same thing, V shape with a wobble on it. Maybe put like some spices on there. Yeah, just some little dots to give a little bit more of an interesting variance. Then, okay, so I made this cheese blue because I was planning on making a crystal patty for the second patty. So the blue there will like kind of match up with the other blue, so it'll have a cool color rhythm going on. So if you remember back to the crystal stuff, what you got to do is use straight lines to kind of make that shape. Like that. And you're just using straight lines to kind of make a rounded shape, if that makes sense. And then you can kind of draw yourself some little shapes in there. Again, straight line polygons, and then connecting those to the edge like that.
Mm.
So just coming around here. And I'm not going to bother doing any hatching on this because this one's going to be all in the painting stage. Just connecting stuff, maybe making a couple of them shiny. All right. And then I guess I thought this was going to be a taller burger. I can add another thing. Maybe like something purple. Yeah. I don't know what this is, but I think this looks kind of cool. If I made it kind of similar consistency to the cheese, big, maybe it's some kind of cooked vegetable. I don't know. I like it. And then you can draw the bottom bun, which is, again, we're using the same stuff that we used up here, color-wise and hatching-wise, because you want these both to look related, if that makes sense. So when you look at this, you know that, there we go, that the top and the bottom bun are made of the same material. Again, sorry if it sounds like I'm banging on the keyboard a little bit. This computer has different key commands than the one I normally work on. But yeah, you use those same hatches to, along with the color, let people know that this top thing is the same as the bottom thing. Now, again, just in the interest of tying it together, I think it might be nice to add a sort of like sesame seed style thing going on the top, but with little rock crystals, so the crystal patty doesn't seem too weird when considered overall. So what I'm doing here is I'm erasing a little bit on the top of the bun, so when we draw those in, there can be a little bit of an overlap. So this little shape coming up over the edge here makes it look like more three-dimensional and less flat. Makes these really look like they're there in an interesting way. Again, I'm not trying to be too realistic, but I do want it to look like something that you would want to pick up and try maybe. All right, that's looking okay. Maybe one or two more sesame seeds or sparkle seeds. Maybe get a little bit of a fold up there. Like, you know, sometimes if you get a burger that's been wrapped up, it has little like steam folds in the top, kind of. I think that can look very, very appealing. Yeah, maybe add some steam. Move that down so I can add some steam. Get rid of this lettuce. Just erase it. Draw some steam. I think maybe like I could use like an orangey yellow. I think would look nice. It's a little too peachy. There we go. You can make steam any color you want. Like that. And voila. Not voila. There we go. Recenter. So, do I have enough time to color this?
Sure. We have about 2 minutes left.
Oh, I can go fast. All right.
Yeah, I would love to see some color. I know everyone that's watching would too, because I'm already amazed.
And yeah, I would love to color this. See? I can also answer questions while I paint. If our time is limited.
Well, Natalie, I have a question for you. How did you come up with the idea for Space Battle Lunchtime? What inspired you to come up with this just very unique idea of a reality cooking show in space?
That's actually a really cute story. So I came up with it when I was at the end of being in college, and my roommate was really into a bunch of like really cutesy cooking manga, but also really gross, scary sci-fi. So I thought it might be fun to like combine those things. And I drew up these character designs and I showed them to her as like a fun joke. And then I looked back at them and I was like, oh, no, there's definitely some meat here. I can definitely do something with this. So shout outs to Lindsay for giving me the best idea I've ever had.
I think that goes with the theme that everyone's been saying today, is to look around you, talk to other people. You can get ideas for everything all around you if you're paying attention.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that.
Also, the competitors in Space Battle Lunchtime are very interesting looking.
Thanks.
How did you come up with those ideas for her competitors?
So, to make all of their food choices interesting, I kind of based everyone around a specific type of food that they would be making. So, like with Melonhead, the antagonist, I thought it would be really funny if you had a reverse vegan. So it's somebody who is a plant person but only cooks meat. Yes. Or like, who else is there? Let me look in the book. Or like Jacques, who's the like fish mech guy. Yes. I don't know. I thought that would be a fun idea for a character. Or Neptunia is like ocean themed, like very precise presentation stuff. They all kind of were made from like trying to base a character around a type of cooking that I would want to do, or a type of fun like food idea.
Oh, such a great book, Natalie. Such a great book. I'm going to pop in Joanna. Joanna is drawing along as well. I can see her. And Joanna, can you just share how everyone at home and that's watching can get an opportunity to get copies of Natalie Riess's Space Battle Lunchtime?
Absolutely. And we would also want to see what you've been inspired to do as well. Like Lauren's right. I've been drawing along. Here's my GUI. I'm very proud of my GUI.
I love it.
And I tried to replicate the GUI on my cheeseburger, but I can't see it as well, but I do have to fill that in too. So everyone, if you are inspired to draw a cheeseburger of your own, or any of the food textures that Natalie shared, or anything that inspired you today from our amazing creators, please go ahead and share that with us at this email address, ecdept@lapl.org. We would love to see what inspired you and what you created from today. This is also the email that you would use if you are interested in your chance for receiving a free copy of Space Battle Lunchtime by Natalie. We have 10 copies, and when you email that address with the subject heading Will Eisner Space Battle Lunchtime, that is your opportunity to get that free book. Again, we have 10 copies. And haven't heard from the department yet, but I believe there's still copies available. So go ahead, jump on that so that you can have your opportunity to have the book at home. And if you miss out, don't worry. You can still borrow a copy from the library. We have Library to Go, and it's basically available on our electronic resources as well. Libby and Overdrive, they have that ready again for free. Oh my gosh. Even with the blue cheese and everything, this cheeseburger is looking delicious.
Thanks. Yeah, I actually wanted to give a shout out to the Libby app because I don't know, I've been reading a lot lately, and it's really nice to be able to get to the library without actually being able to get to the library.
Totally.
Tina, can you show your picture again? I saw you holding up your picture.
Oh yeah, it's like a mouse riding on an octopus tentacle, and the mouse is holding up some sort of little melting. I was trying to do like a macaroon or something. It's got a little raspberry on top, and then this monster arm has come in and swiped one of the raspberries.
That's so charming. I love this.
Was my inspiration.
Awesome. I love it.
I'm trying to decide what that blue cheese would taste like. If it would be like a blueberry bubblegum flavor.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
Ooh, bubblegum flavored cheese.
I don't know. I was thinking about this like maybe a dragon might like to eat it or something like that. I wanted to show off like some fun weird stuff in here. But I also do still really want a burger now.
Yeah, me too.
That's I don't know, when there's something I really want to eat, but like for some reason or another, maybe I'm not in the right place to get it, or I don't feel like cooking it. Sometimes I'll just sit down and draw it and feel like I'm kind of getting the same experience. Like it's kind of hard to get soft pretzels, like a really good soft pretzel here where I live. So sometimes I'll just draw a soft pretzel, and it's pretty close, I guess, to the experience of actually having one.
And I love the kind of ideas that you can get just from the drawings as well. Like maybe a dragon would eat this cheeseburger. Or I was thinking, what, like bubblegum flavored cheese. Maybe you can get special powers by eating bubblegum flavored cheese. It has to do with bubbles and floating and all those things just by drawing and looking at the colors.
Yeah. It's definitely a fun way to explore drawing anything. Oh, am I good? Okay, cool.
Yes, Bren, dragon cheese. Absolutely.
Let me get a little bit of color in the steam. But yeah, if anyone has any other questions or like if you want to ask me to draw anything specific.
In the comments, this is one of my favorite families. They enjoy dragon cheese.
Hell yeah, that's my next book.
You heard it here, everyone. I want to reach out into the screen and get that.
The blue crystals to me look like pop rocks.
Oh yeah,
And now
I can definitely see
pop
that.
rocks.
I can definitely see that. Yeah, my idea when making fantasy food is I want it to be grounded enough so that when you look at it, you know that that's food, but weird enough that like, you know, there's a little bit of mystery to it. And I guess it goes back to that like shape, color, texture thing where you take those three and you make one of those different. So like, I think you talked about like a pizza orb I drew a long time ago, and it's like, pizza is a thing you know, but pizza in the shape of a sphere, what would that be like? That's for you to decide.
And now I want to eat pizza.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'm happy with, oh wait, no, I'm not happy with that. It's the fun thing is that you can just keep noodling with it. All right, yeah. I'm gonna make the lettuce veins a little lighter. I'd say that's done or done enough. I did it. Normally, when I color things in Photoshop, you can go a lot faster if you're just like using a magic wand tool to color things in. But I don't know. It's also nice to just paint it.
I say that shows up in the next volume of Dragon Critters.
Yeah. Oh man, they should eat burgers and dungeon critters.
I just love watching the whole process. And that's why I loved this program today, because you got to see all of these wonderful and talented creators, just how they process, how they do their work, how they do their stories and their drawings. And I hope you all enjoyed yourselves. As we are signing off in a few minutes, I just want to do a quick rundown of all of the creators, the email address again, and each title. If you still have not entered for an opportunity to win one of these books from all our wonderful creators, we're just going to run down the list really quick and share that email address one more time before we sign off. So I just want to reiterate Natalie Riess again, from Natalie Riess, and then Joanna will go through the rest and that email address. So Joanna, let's start with Natalie again, and then we'll go through all of the books of today, including Stepping Stones.
Okay, got it. So let's start. All right, so you are going to email ectdept@lapl.org if you want the opportunity to get any of these books that we covered today. So if you want Space Battle Lunchtime, you are going to email that address with Will Eisner. Oh no, that's the wrong one. Space Battle Lunchtime. That's the title that you want to use for your giveaway book. The next one, we also talked about Power Up. So you're going to use the heading Will Eisner, Power Up. And then that one's by Darnell Johnson. So yay, we'll put that there. And then we had Secrets of Camp Whatever. The subject heading that you want to put is Will Eisner, Secrets of Camp Whatever, or Will Eisner, Time Shifters. Both those books are available as well. And then let me go backwards. We also have Urban Legends that's available, and Twins. And then finally, Stepping Stones. That's what we started off with. It feels like a day ago.
But so many wonderful, wonderful books. I hope everyone gets an opportunity and a chance that's participating today for their chance to enjoy one of these books. So please don't forget to email that email address. And as we're leaving, does anyone would like to talk about any of our digital resources?
Well, I wanted to give a shout out and just a big thank you to all our presenters. So wonderful to see artists creating. I think it's just a wonderful opportunity for kids and grown-up librarians to watch people draw and talk about their process. And shout out to Will Eisner and for doing this. The foundation does this great week, and we celebrate comics and comic creators. And yes, and then Joanna, you had some thanks for our internal organizations, or no?
I mean, I can repeat again what I said. Again, if you were inspired by Natalie's drawing demonstration or any of the artists and creators that shared their process and ways of telling stories today, please email us and share what you learned, share what inspired you. There's so much inspiration that comes from everywhere. Again, same email address, ectdept@lapl.org. We would love to see all your creations. I know you can do better than my GUI, everyone.
That looks good.
Oh, it's so good.
I would eat
I'm pretty
that.
proud of this. I know. It's
really
pictures,
nice.
everyone. But I know there's some artists and writers out there that were definitely inspired by what we saw today, and we would just love to see that.
And before we sign off, I just want to say another big thank you to Natalie Riess from Space Battle Lunchtime. And let's just end with looking at her wonderful burger that may be eaten by a dragon. We're not sure, but I think this is just a wonderful image to look at before we sign off. And a big thank you to the Los Angeles Library Foundation, or Library Foundation of Los Angeles, for funding this wonderful program. I hope you had a great time. Thank you again, Natalie.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. This was awesome.
I look forward to reading more Space Battle Lunchtime Adventures and all of your other great work. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye, y'all. Thanks.